if they're going to get anywhere near the levels of last year. I've also pointed out they picked up extraordinary results last year against the top teams in this country. It's going to be very difficult to replicate that, which puts them under a little bit of pressure against the teams that we would regard as the bottom half of the Premier League. They're going to have to pick up some points against those sides, or more than they did last year, because I just don't feel like they're going to match the same tally that they managed to achieve against those top sides last year. But we've said this before, they should be comfortably fine. But I hope the expectation, from the supporters is, where we finished last year, we've got to improve on that. Otherwise, we're going backwards. I think last year was a wonderful season, a super finish for Brentford. Lots of achievements along the way. One of the standout ones, beating Man City twice, doing the double over the champions, or the triple winners. And so therefore, if they were to finish 12th, 13th, 14th, don't worry, don't panic.
No.
First and foremost, make sure that you're playing Premier League football next year, but don't panic if you're not as high as last year.
Well, that Harry Kane press conference is going on right now. Lucy, you're looking at some of the standout lines that are coming out of it.
Yeah, lots of quotes coming out of it, as you can expect. Talking about his decision to leave Spurs, he said, it was always going to be a tough decision. I was at Tottenham for 19 years of my life. The club is connected with me. Ultimately, I'm a professional. I've always pushed myself to my limits, and the time was right. People will talk about the Shearer record. I've got plenty of football left in my career. For now, it's about reaching new levels with this club right now. Talked about how he's going to learn German. I'll have German lessons at least once or twice a week. I want to fit in as much as possible and learn the language. It's important, and I'm willing to try. We have a lot of English-speaking players and staff around the club, so that will help me, but I want to fit in as much as possible. Lots about kind of fitting in his family, talking about getting a new house and his children being young enough that he can move them abroad and it won't affect them too much. He was asked on whether David Beckham's move to Real Madrid was an influence. He said, I remember that and how big it was. It's no secret I was a big David Beckham fan when I was younger. I didn't want to get to the end of my career with regret and not experiencing different leagues and cultures. My family were fully behind me and we made the best decision. We have stuff to sort out, but I'm sure everything will be great.
It's good to hear as well. I mean, it is football or sport or professional, opportunities that are presented themselves do give a chance to go and live and experience different ways of life in different countries, Steve. So, I mean, that's very positive to hear from him as well. And, also we heard from Bradley Allen on Thursday, and he said, look, Harry could go for the Premier League record. He could come back and still, he's 47 shy. He could 3 seasons, he could possibly do that, either at Spurs or somewhere else. However, Bradley did suggest that Harry is actually keen to win trophies as well. Now, missed out on one yesterday. I'm not sure that sort of trophy counts, Steve. No. Although if you're Arsenal, you would put that in your trophy cabinet, because that was very big, wasn't it? The Community Shield, for instance.
Yeah, listen, he's given himself a chance, hasn't he, by going to Bayern Munich, and I agree with Bradley. I think that the decision would have been, what do I want for the rest of my career? Is that it came down to the record or trying to, because he had many clubs after him, and most of them would have given him a better opportunity than Spurs to win a trophy, and that looks like what he's set his heart on doing. So I think he's picked a club that could potentially go to the latter stages, or should go to the latter stages of the Champions League. Will probably win the domestic league. It'd be a shock if they don't. So he's certainly gone to a club where they're favourites to pick something up. But yeah, it's a bold move for me. I mean, in terms of, I wonder what was available in the Premier League for him, if at all. You just don't know what's gone on behind the scenes in terms of Daniel Levy and his thought processes. But you have to tip your cap. 104 million for somebody that's got 12 months left of their contract, I think is as good as you can do. I really do.
Yeah,
it's an extraordinary amount of money for someone with 12 months of their contract left.
Yeah, absolutely huge. We'll focus on this game again in a moment or two, but it's a little bit later this afternoon at Stamford Bridge, not too far away. Liverpool will be hosted by Chelsea. Quite a bit of hijinks going on between the two teams off the pitch right now, especially in regards to the potential signing of one player. There's still a lot of respect between the two managers, though.
No, he's one of the best. Yes, because we cannot say he's the best, but he's one of the best. Top 5 world managers. I have a very good relationship with him. He was so nice when when I left Tottenham. One of the best message, that I received. And always I keep very good, relationship. Yes, and then he's doing a fantastic job in Liverpool. So happy because he deserves and he's back. He was backing and he's backing for the club. Good and bad. Sometimes result, good and bad period on the club, but they really believe in him, and they are giving again the best tool to create again a good team with the capacity to fight for every single time.
Well, it's funny, Steve, isn't it, in many respects, that you've got two clubs in the shape of Chelsea and Liverpool. I've heard some predictions that if Liverpool get Caicedo, some people said that they will challenge for the title. Other people are suggesting Liverpool actually at the moment are on a bit of a decline and a bit of a, maybe is it going a bit stale under their current manager, whereas Chelsea, yet again, another new broom, but this one looks as if it's got quite a sturdy connection between the actual sort of shaft of the broom and the broom. I don't know where I'm going with this, Steve. But you know what I mean?
I know where you're going.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't think the hand action was necessarily required, but do you know what I mean? It looks like it's more solid, and Poch knows what he's doing. You get a sense that this summer feels a bit more sensible than last summer.
Oh, yeah, I mean that's without doubt. What I would say is that at some point, and I feel the same about Spurs actually, you've got to give somebody an opportunity to put a foundation in place that they can build upon. I think I read a stat that this is the 5th consecutive season that Spurs have started with a new manager, and that you just can't build anything concrete moving forward if you're just going to change managers every 7, 8, 9 months. So I feel Chelsea are in that boat. I think they've got the right man, and despite how the season may start or go, we all expect it to be better this year for Chelsea, a lot better. But if it doesn't, they have to, in my opinion, stick with Pochettino and let him do a rebuilding job over a course of a couple of seasons. But yeah, I think we're all expecting Chelsea to improve. How much they improve, is going to be the surprise. Some people have mentioned top 4. I'm not quite sure they're going to be top 4 off the back of what happened last season. But if they are, then that's definitely a hats off to Pochettino for turning it around in a very short space of time. But patience there, I think, at Chelsea, and stability. A bit like the same here at Spurs.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think what a marker to start the season as well, because there will be big pressure on Chelsea. They hate losing to Liverpool. It's one of their least favourite opponents, I think. And with the Caicedo thing bubbling away under the surface, I think there'll be real needle in this one in terms of let's make a point almost. And I think there is certainly pressure. There's expectation, but good expectation, because I think there really is a sense that after a lot of false starts, after a lot of poor judgment off the field, poor transfer policy, etc., they are kind of getting their ducks in order, and they may do now have the right man to take them into this kind of new stage of the club where they're heavily investing in youth. They're not necessarily going for, I know they're spending a lot of money, but they're not going for the superstar. They're not trying to sign Neymar, or, well, Todd Boehly maybe is, but you know what I mean. They've got a new approach. They've got a far broader sort of recruitment base and plan, and with no European football, no midweek commitments, it feels like there is certainly scope to maybe kind of steal a march on some of their rivals who have got those distractions. But yeah, I mean, they will have to close a chasm in terms of how poor they were last year if they are to compete at all.
Top 5 though, Champions League, isn't it?
Yeah.
This coming year, because of the coefficients, etc., and changes of tweaks and changes to the rules. So that makes it very interesting for the end of this season. Let's hear from the Spurs boss, shall we? It will shock you to hear that his press conference on Friday, Steve, was dominated about sort of conversations surrounding some chap called Harry Kane. Has he got a wish list of potential striking replacements now that their talismanic marksman has finally departed?
I don't think it works that way, mate. It's not, it's not my wife handing me a shopping list to go down and get some milk and bread for the kids. Like I said, we've been sort of, our whole strategy has been around the fact that Harry wasn't going to be around, more than likely. So it's not like this is we've had that for powwow this morning, and geez, what do? We knew it was coming, and we've been working towards that. And from my perspective, we're preparing now for Brentford, and there won't be anyone incoming between now and Sunday, so that's where my focus is.
Postecoglou says they've got to give the fans something to smile about this season, with quite a bit of anger and uncertainty surrounding the club's future now that Kane has gone.
I was under no illusions of the enormity of the challenge, but at the same time I was bullish in myself that we could accomplish something here. And in terms of the supporters, I've said all along, they've got the right to feel the way they want to, and it's up to us to change that. If we don't feel, if there's a negativity amongst them, it's up to us to turn that around. It's not up to them to just sort of blindly, they'll always, have this eternal faith in their football club, but in terms of us, the people who represent it, we've got to prove to them that there's something to get behind there. And Sunday's an opportunity for us to begin to do that, and then hopefully that positivity transfers to our next home game, and then because the energy that they provide the players will be enormous in us trying to achieve what we need to.
Well, one player's already been brought in, James Maddison. He's been named as a co-captain alongside Sergio Romero. Ange says that he's going to be a vital part of their plans going forward.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably one of the first pieces of business we did. Yeah, I mean, he was available, and I was really excited to bring him into the group, knowing sort of what we needed to build here, and again, in the back of my mind, knowing that if Harry was going to leave, that's a fair few goals walking out the door, and you can't just replace that, I thought, with one player. And I think an area of the club that probably needed some bolstering was midfield threat in terms of goals, and that's what Matters provides, goals, assists, and if we're going to sort of cover the fact that Harry's gone and all the goals are leaving with him, we can certainly try and spread that out, and Matters definitely provides that, and he's been brilliant since he's come in. To be fair, he's been outstanding, not just in the games, but in training, and the way he's kind of embraced the club, and the way he's kind of developing the football we want to play.
Steve, does that fit in? Madders, does that fit in with the nickname convention?
Yeah, you can't do a lot with Maddison on the end, so you shorten. Yeah, Madders. Yep.
Okay, good, just checking. Thanks. We need to check the big details, Steve, as well. What about today's game? Despite everything that's been going on with Kane, Postecoglou says they've got no choice. They've just got to be ready to go.
The league's not going to wait for us, so it starts Sunday, so we have to be ready for it. Obviously it's a great test for us. Brentford away is tough for anybody in the league. They showed that last year, and I think you've seen growth in their team every year they've been in the Premier League. Again, they've made some really astute signings to strengthen in the areas they need to, and it's going to be a great challenge for us. It's a great physical challenge when you play Brentford. They work hard as a team, they're well organised, they're difficult set pieces, and we've got to try and counter all that stuff, but also from our perspective, try and play our football. We've been working hard on that in the pre-season, and this is our first chance to sort of start to lay some foundations.
Big question, Steve. In regards to Ange Postecoglou, has he got more of a gravelly, gruff voice than Sean Dyche?
No, but he needs to say bullish better in his interviews.
Oh, that confused you, didn't it?
I was panicking there. I thought we were going to make an apology, but no.
What's the expectation, do you think, on his shoulders this season?
That's a very good question, because I'm not even sure Spurs fans are quite sure where this team's going. The one thing I do know is he's going to have to do some serious man managing on Richarlison. A player that I think needs a lot of love and an arm around the shoulder when it's not going so well. So to get the best out of him, I think he's got his work cut out there. And this is a tough game. I've said to you off air that they really need to be underdogs today, Tottenham, for me. And I don't mean they're underdogs here. I think the fact the Spurs fans will expect them to come and do something today, and it's a very tough Brentford side here at the G-Tech. They're hard to beat. They only lost 9 games all last Premier League season. They won over 50% of their home matches. So it's a tough fixture and a tough start. So I can't see him actually doing a great deal this year. If they do, it will surprise me. I think they've got to have a year.
Okay.
I think they've got to have a year of stability on the pitch and try and improve in the January transfer window, and one more next summer. And for me, it'll be next season where expectations would rise if I was a Spurs fan.
Well, let's get the thoughts of the Brentford manager now then, shall we? After finishing 9th last season, improving on the 13th year before their first back in the top flight. There's been talk of what progress can be made. Money's been splashed by the so-called bigger clubs. So does Thomas Frank think that progress is still possible for the Bees?
We will definitely still try to have progress, still try to develop, still try to add layers, still try to be better every single day. Want to develop the players, want to add new layers. I think, just an example, we have some young players in Hickey, Kinus Potter, Kevin Schade, Mikkel Damsgaard. I expect them to be better this year, all 4 of them. And if they get better, hopefully that makes the team better, and then, we lift. I think there was 3 players that are not young, but young-ish, what do you say, in Brian Mbeumo, Rico Henry and Matthijs Jensen. All 3 had a very good season last year. I expect them, I said that to them personally, I expect all 3, to add another layer. So if all that adds up, hopefully we can keep doing well. Most likely, realistically, but the good thing, I'm an optimist. I'm not. Sometimes some think I'm too optimistic and maybe not that realistic. But if you should look realistic on it. Last year we had the second lowest budget, so it was basically a miracle what we did.
Well, of course, the West Londoners are going to be without Ivan Toney until January. The former Northampton and Peterborough man bagged 21 goals last season. Thomas says he's not worried about who's going to step up.
It's mainly, I would say, as a 9-year-old Wizard or Kevin Schade. Even Brian Mbeumo could play out there. And I have big confidence in all 3 could take over and score goals. Plus, we're not only talking about striker, but also all players step up to score goals. Kinus Potter is also a player that could do that.
So the Bees will face Tottenham today with no Kane and a new manager in charge. What does Frank expect from a Postecoglou outfit?
It looks like they would like to dominate more on the ball in possession. Looks like they have good structure in that aspect area. Very aware or very clear in what way he want to do things. Definitely look like that. Clear structure in Below Phase 2, clear structure in Final Third. So I think we will see a Tottenham team that will be more offensive, if you can say that. So yeah, be interesting.
That's Thomas Frank, who has had some interesting thoughts to say. Steve Brown, I mean, you've sort of questioned whether progress can actually be made. I mean, it's very, very difficult to continue to improve. At some point, maybe, you do hit maybe a slight plateau. However, there's nothing wrong with ambition.
No, you've got to set your goals, and they've got to be higher than what you achieved last year. My point is, I hate the way modern day football is done on a game-to-game basis almost. If you win, you're great. If you lose, you're rubbish. And it has to be viewed as a much longer term goal setting for Brentford. If they were, look, it's very tough to just keep improving year on year, particularly in the Premier League where vast amounts of money are being spent, particularly this summer. It's gone bonkers. And Thomas Frank just stated there, we were the second lowest budget in the Premier League. So what they achieved last year was unbelievable. My point is, not that they can't do it again, they can, and that has to be their aim. My point is, if they don't, please don't become frustrated or throw any criticism Thomas Frank and the team's way, because they have overachieved by some way. They're a wonderful club. They're running a magnificent way. It's a very friendly club when you come here, and I think these supporters are very, very understanding actually. But you don't want to see, like, if they were to have a poor start, just lay off them a little bit, and it's tough to keep improving year on year in this particular league when you see the amounts of money that are being spent, and Brentford are doing it the right way in the right manner, and sometimes you might finish 2 or 3, 4 places below where he did last year. That's fine.
Well, Spurs have won the last 2 opening games to their season. Brentford have won both opening games to their Premier League seasons. Although last season their first game of the campaign was a 2-2 draw at Leicester before beating Manchester United comprehensively here on their first home game. And of course the first ever game in what is now called the Premier League, although football did exist before 1992, Steve, was that victory against Arsenal here on a Friday night. Tottenham Hotspur are in new territory in many respects. It's their first season without European football since 2005-2006. So they can focus on the league, and maybe that'll suit Ange Postecoglou. If he can deliver a domestic cup, that certainly would go down very well with the Tottenham army, who have travelled in good numbers, as you would always expect here on this sunny afternoon in West London. Spurs in a change strip of very dark navy blue shirts and shorts with white socks. Brentford, the red and white striped shirts, although fading to black at the bottom of the red stripes at the bottom of the shirt, black shorts, so they blend in with the shorts, Steve. You see, it's design apparently. Black socks with a white and red band around them. Some have them near the knee, others halfway down the calves, depending on what your style is, Steve.
Just all I ever bothered about was how tight it was, Phil. That's it.
What, the sock?
The shorts mainly.
Oh, the shorts.
Yeah, quite heavy around the midriff.
Okay, Steve.
Colours and piping and
didn't really
badges,
matter as long as you had a little bit of breathing space.
As long as I was putting a shirt on and representing the club and starting in the 11,
as long as you weren't squeaking when you ran.
I was relatively happy, and not looking like I was wearing lycra.
Didn't want to sort of potentially have that splitting noise if you bent over to pick up the ball for throw.
Yeah, that sort of worry.
Wasn't it Neil Ruddock who had to have specially made ones when he went to Swindon that time?
I don't know. Yeah, if there is a player, it would be Neil, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't tell him that to his face, mind.
No, neither would I.
No. Brentford go into a huddle. Spurs jog over to where their fans are and give them some applause, led by their new captain Son Heung-min, who then draws them into a huddle on the right-hand side of their penalty area. The TV director will give the nod as to when we can get going. Mark Flekken making his debut in goal, the Dutch goalkeeper for Brentford, no longer the number 1 being worn by David Raya, who is off to North London, but the red and white half. Christopher Ayer, Nathan Collins, Ethan Pinnock, the back 3. Hickey, Jensen, Norgard, Janelt and Henry, and Bumu and Wissa get the nod up top. Tottenham Hotspur, Vicario between the sticks making a debut. The Italian, Emerson Royale, Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven and Destiny Udogie, with Oliver Skipp and Yves Bissouma in midfield. Dejan Kulusevski, James Maddison with a debut for him, and Son Heung-min supporting Richarlison up top. It's the referee who is in the centre circle. Some discussion on the sidelines about when we can start. James Maddison comes to have a drink. Bit of a delay here. At this moment we are, well, not quite sure what's going on, but the referee's come to have a word with Thomas Frank. The 2 assistant referees are in the centre circle as well, and a bit of a shambles, I think, at this moment in time. We saw a delayed start to Arsenal's game yesterday because of ticketing issues, and today we're seeing a delayed start to this game, Steve.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
No one does. And the fact that a few balls have been thrown onto the pitch to allow the players to pass amongst each other means it's going to be a couple of minutes or so, I guess. But the referee's in deep discussion now with Maddison, and we'll just have to wait and see. We're not quite sure why there's a delay, but
Jeremy Tunnell, I can tell you, is talking to the 4th official down there at the moment, who is Jared Gillet, or Gillette. Steve, I don't know what you call him. Ange Postecoglou comes out and applauds the Spurs fans and waves at them. Thomas Frank is having a laugh and a joke with Klaus Norgard, one of his assistant head coaches. There's plenty of movement on the sidelines, but we don't know why this game hasn't started. And now this is a little bit silly, Steve.
A little bit. This is a chance to talk about Postecoglou. Actually, he's a big old lump, isn't he? Bit of Aussie rules, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, he played football, but you wouldn't mess with him.
No.
I'd want to send Roy Hodgson in if I had the option.
Bless his heart.
Roy, the boy, last night, 76 years young. Roy Hodgson still massively up for the fight, and looked quite convincing. And now the players are just knocking the balls around amongst them, still keeping warm. Explanations are now taking place on the sidelines as to what's happening. Lucy Lever doesn't know, I don't know.
There
Steve?
seems to be lots of people nervously speaking into little headsets and microphones, and as you said, a buzz of activity pitchside as to what's actually going on. Lots of concerned faces, but there's been no sort of announcement over the PA system or anything to explain to us what's going on. One of our colleagues, George Cummins at 5 Live, has just gone down to find out what's going on. I may go and speak to him and find out what's going on, Phil.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Lucy, who's going to go and investigate as to what the delay is, Steve. So, talk amongst yourself, or sing Seven Nation Army amongst yourself, Steve, is actually what the instruction is. I think Lucy has now got the nod, Steve, as to what is happening.
A water issue is what I've been told. There's no water supply pitchside.
No water supply pitchside. Bit like our office yesterday, Lucy.
Whether they're concerned the sprinklers might have a mind of their own and start going off, I don't know.
Well, let's wait and see if they do, but get the game underway.
That would be quite funny, wouldn't it?
Look, there's so much goes on now around the actual game itself that, you know...
Well, how long can they leave the players out there just like jogging up and down without actually taking some sort of action? The referee now is making his way to the middle. Robert Jones is going to the centre circle. We may have... Oh dear, he's reaching into his pocket. I think he's going to book the groundsman. For a lack of... Oh, no, he's picking... Oh, no, the ball is now... We are going to have the toss of the coins. So at last it looks as if we may actually get this football match off and underway. So Brentford go into another huddle. That means Spurs have to go over to their fans again, doesn't it? And do that whole big thing. Robert Jones tosses the coin.
Oh, here we go.
Christian Norgard has won the toss, and I think Spurs are going to change the players around, I think. So, Son Heung-min's first action as Tottenham Hotspur captain is to put his goalkeeper in goal away to our left-hand side. So Guillermo Vicario will go and march down the Brentford end of the ground, and Mark Flecken will have to go between the sticks at the Chiswick end of the ground, or the East Stand, Steve, whichever one you want to call it. And then we will get off and underway very soon. What's that delay? I mean, this game wasn't going to finish till about 4:05 anyway. So now it's going to finish a little bit later. It's 7 minutes past 2. No water coming into the ground. They're getting... yes. It's very interesting. But no water coming into the ground. There is a lot of roadworks going on the road out the back as well, which is causing a nightmare for commuters. The referee blows his whistle. Players take a knee. Round of applause around the ground. Robert Jones will blow his whistle again, and eventually, Steve Brown, we're off and underway. And the first game of the season for these two teams sees Brentford attacking from right to left as we look at it, in possession on the right-hand side, slipped back into the feet of the most expensive Irish footballer, Steve, Nathan Collins. £23 million he cost in the summer, still very young. Moved to Wolves, started at Stoke, been at Burnley, clipped up the right-hand touchline for Mbumo. Brings it under control for Brentford, who'd held on to possession. Matthias Jensen, who was a really good one from Wieser. Instead, it's Mbumo, goes darting down the right-hand side. Closed down, though, by Tottenham Hotspur. Scraped in field this time and worked away for Mbumo to win back. Little back heel. Matthias Jensen drives in across. Wieser won't get there. Jensen tries to come and win it back. He will do so almost on the edge of the Spurs penalty area. They've almost presented possession away as they play it out of defence. Won back this time by Ethan Pinnock, who scored that winning goal in the last game here of last season against Manchester City. Clearance only as far as Hickey. Brentford tails up at this moment in time. Early exchanges in this game, minute and 3 seconds played, and it'll be Collins who turns it out wide towards that right hand side, and Ayer's playing on the left of the three, Collins on the right, Pinnock through the middle at the moment, Steve.
Yeah, and they're a big three, aren't they? So I wonder if they're going to have something to say about this game from set pieces. But interesting that I mean, they left Rico Henry wide on this left side. I know Jensen curled the ball into the channel in behind the left back of Tottenham, but Rico Henry was wide open down this left hand side as a wing back on the diagonal, and it all came about because Visa sort of played off the shoulder of Romero and dragged Royale, the right back, inside. And honestly, I'll be amazed if Thomas Frank hasn't spotted that and gives a little shout out for a diagonal at some point in the next 5-10 minutes.
Guillermo Vicario closed down by Johan Visa, and a throw-in has been forced over on that far touchline, just dawdling on the ball a little bit, the Italian, and it will be a throw-in deep inside the left-back territory, which Destiny Udogie will take for Tottenham Hotspur on that far side. Launches it forward, Brentford trying to hem in Spurs, clipped towards the edge of the Spurs penalty area, and Boomer with the flick. Wissa tries to get on the end of it. Nicky van der Ven with it. There's a head injury though, so this is going to lead to a stoppage in play. We've only just got going, it's a couple of minutes, and there's 3 players holding their heads. Johan Wissa, I think, is holding his neck. Brian Mbeumo is definitely down. Yeah,
had to stop immediately. They both clutched their heads. So as a referee, you've got no choice other than to stop the game. But these early, and we are going to be, looking at the tactics of this game, because we've got a new manager for Spurs who wants to try and play a completely different way. Early signs are Kulusevski doesn't need to track back in this formation. He's high and he's wide in a front right position, and the question mark for Brentford is, do they leave him 1v1 with Pinnock, the left-sided centre-half, or does Rico Henry have to track back and get goal side, which makes him ultimately slightly more defensive, Brentford? On early showings, this left-hand channel for Brentford, right-hand channel for Tottenham is a fascinating opening couple of minutes in terms of who's going to take control of it.
Well, it was Romero who headed the back of Mbeumo's head. Both of them are down. Is there a thumbs up from the Brentford coaching staff? Not quite sure that there is. He's having the back of his head rubbed. Christian Romero is still down as well.
Yeah, he looks okay.
Yeah,
they both look like they're okay.
Vitaly Janelt, although they've got now, I don't know what the protocols are with head injuries, Steve. This is the other thing. I mean, on Tuesday we saw Murray Wallace get a massive cut on his head. Come back out onto the pitch and then have to get substituted, and then the player that he was involved with went off as well in the first half. So why that wasn't done initially, I'm not so sure, but I suppose it'll get complicated. It's difficult in football to have.
Well, it's concussion protocol more than anything these days, isn't it? They've got to make sure, I mean, because you will get attacked, in terms of governing bodies now, if you don't spot a concussion and a player carries on, and there's implications further down the line. So they've got to make sure. It means you'll get bigger delays when there's a clash of heads. But yeah, the one on Tuesday was blatant, because the blood just came flowing out of the wound on Murray Wallace, and yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't asked to depart quicker than he was. But we're all good, we're back up and running. Both players, I think, will continue.
And Mickey van der Ven, who's played most of his football in Germany, rolls it square. Another summer signing for Tottenham Hotspur in this lineup. Gets another touch of the ball, and Boomer is strolling up the touchline. The other player, that Romero, who was injured, is he back on as well, Steve? No, he's come to this sideline to come back on, and Brian Mbeumo is allowed on the far touchline as it goes into midfield. Maddison just tickles it back in towards Emerson Royale. On the right hand side now, Yves Bissouma carries it over the halfway line into Brentford territory, rolls it towards Emerson Royale again. Doubling up on the right hand side at the moment. Skip and Kulusevski is over on this near touchline, and Spurs have a period of possession. Yves Postecoglou delivering a domestic treble at Celtic last season. Goals were scored aplenty by the Green and White Hoops as well. Over 100 as it goes all the way back to Romero's, closed down by Wissa, and then he pokes it to his goalkeeper Vicario. Sky blue shirted's giving it away almost the edge of the penalty area to Christian Norgard. He looks nervous, Steve, I'd say, Vicario, in the opening exchanges of this game. There's been a couple of moments But he squeezed that one away, and that's a good turn from James Maddison over the halfway line. Gallops forward just outside the centre circle now for Tottenham Hotspur. Squares it across to Oliver Skipp. He's got Kulusevski on this near touchline, the Swedish international. Drives it back infield to Emerson Royale, halfway inside the Brentford half of the pitch. Here is Maddison. Good tackle from Matthias Jensen. Maddison went to ground, but after the contact was after the ball had been played. Flecken with the delivery away towards the halfway line. That's cut out though by Yves Bissouma. Now driving forward come Tottenham Hotspur again, as it's flicked out wide by Destiny Udogie, who was loaned back to Italian football, having signed last summer to Udinese, where he came from, and it's picked up by James Maddison, trying to tick things forward for Spurs. 6.5 minutes played. BBC Radio London, Sunday afternoon, 0-0. Steve Brown.
Yeah, and you've got to look at the front three of Spurs. Richarlison's pretty much staying centrally up against Pinnock, but will drop deep to receive to try and turn. But Son and Kulusevski are staying very, very high and very, very wide, and it's drawn both wing backs into a back five, which is tough for Richarlison because he's up against the three centre halves, and Brentford have dropped deep naturally as a team. You know, there's not a lot between the back line and the front line, maybe 25 yards, and it's very, very compact. But Spurs having a very good spell of possession, but as you'd imagine with all 10 outfield players behind the ball, finding it tough to break down Brentford at the moment.
Skipp keeps it in on this right hand side. Kulusevski, pink booted, works it back over the halfway line to Romero. Here is Yves Bissouma, space for him to turn into, and he rolls it through to Maddison's popped up in a bit of space, slides it into the penalty area, and as he tried to filter it into the path of the run of Richarlison, it's gathered up by Mark Flecken, the 30-year-old goalkeeper, now the number 1. That's goalkeeping garb that won't go missing, Steve. That's bright pink that he's wearing. Mark Flecken drops it down. There's been I mean, it's, you know, talk of social media talk, people watching stuff on streaming or whatever, but in the pre-season friendlies, you know, 1 or 2 bits of scrutiny from expert coaches, or sometimes not expert coaches. Thomas Frank saying he thinks he's got better from game to game to game, but he's going to have to do some defending now as Nathan Collins concedes a first corner of the afternoon. It's Tottenham Hotspur's 8 minutes played, 0-0.
Yeah, and that's all brought on by, and I wouldn't say it's a high press in terms of the tempo of it, but they have 6 players, Spurs, committed to stopping Brentford playing out, and they forced the ball from inside to out, and once it went out wide in the right wing-back position, they pressed really well, which got a turnover, which has led to this corner. Which
Maddison will deliver, puts his left hand up in the air, right in front of the Tottenham Hotspur fans. Movement in front of him, curls it into the 6-yard box. Flecken comes, completely missed it, drops towards Kulusevski on the left-hand side, on his left foot, should I say. Header forward, which this time Flecken will watch wide off Mickey van der Ven, and it will be a goal kick. But Maddison, really good deliverer from set pieces, and the Brentford goalkeeper didn't get to the flight of that, and eventually it's been put out of play for a goal kick, which will be taken by Mark Flecken in front of the Brentford fans away to our right hand side, with the Spurs fans in that corner. Yeah, they might have to bypass this press that Spurs have got on, and they have, and this is important that Visa doesn't allow Romero to do that. Spurs have got the ball. Son dispossessed temporarily by Matthias Jensen, tracked back is Collins up against Maddison, tries to clip in field, nudged over by Matthias Jensen. Free kick awarded to Tottenham Hotspur. Maddison rolling around on the ground. Yeah, so Flecken forced to go long, and what I was trying to explain was, if you're Visa, you've got to get your body in front of Romero, not allow him to have a free header, because they've got 6 players advanced stopping Brentford playing out. As soon as Romero wins a header, one of those 6 is favourite probably to pick up the seconds. Ball falls to Maddison, a little bit of a trick with his feet, and bang, he goes down, and it's a free kick. Brentford, it's not a sloppy start as such, it's something different from Spurs, and they haven't quite found a way yet of how they're going to break through the lines. Well, this is a really good position for Tottenham Hotspur. It's right on the point of the penalty area on the left-hand side, and it'll be Maddison who steps back, jogs forward, tippy toes towards the far post, and it's headed in. A diving header from Romero. They look at the linesman, no flag goes up, and Tottenham Hotspur have taken the lead. The first goal of Ange Postecoglou's leadership of Tottenham Hotspur comes from a free kick whipped in from one signing and headed in by one of the co-captains. It's Tottenham Hotspur leading by a goal to 0. Yeah, I mean, that is a wicked delivery, isn't it? Just begging to be put into the back of the net. We're just seeing if it's offside. Oh, hello. That could get checked. But it's a wicked delivery, and purposeful runs off the shoulder.
with the keeper not coming, Flecken, he's never going to make a save because the contact on the header was only 3 yards out. And as it stands, Spurs are 1 up.
But they are checking on VAR for a possible offside.
I think it's going to be.
Oh, I don't know. There's a boot that may just be keeping him on there.
Okay.
I think he's on.
Good spot.
I think that's going to actually be allowed to stand as a goal. So Tottenham Hotspur, but they're going to have to make a change. And I think the man who's just scored the goal is going to have to come off, Steve. Oh, hello.
I'm not sure what's taking so long. There is
I think Romero might have to, because as soon as he scored, everyone went over to him and were checking him. So he had that head knock a little bit earlier.
Yeah, well, Sanchez is changed and ready to come on, so that would suggest it is Romero. But yeah, that's uncharacteristic for Brentford, isn't it? They're normally very adept at defending set pieces. They're normally good at attacking set pieces, but you've got to talk about that delivery.
Oh.
Pace, power, whipped in over the top of the first man into that really dangerous corridor, middle of the 6-yard box. Like I said, once Romero gets away and off the shoulder from his man and he's going to make contact, there is no chance for Flecken. The question mark will be, could Flecken have started maybe 2-3 yards out? Maybe could he have made contact with that cross and taken the pressure off his defenders? Very difficult because it came in at such pace.
Well, this is taking an age to check it. The assistant.
I don't know why. It was clearly onside. You could see the leg was playing Romero onside.
Well, they're definitely checking for the possible offside. Nothing else. No foul is what they're checking, and the goal has been given.
I don't know why
Christian
that took so
Romero
long.
has scored, and now he's getting substituted.
Celebrate, and then straight away Christian Romero is coming off.
No, he's saying
and
he's all right.
saying no.
No, he's saying he's all right, but the manager's saying no. And the manager's saying no. Look, the manager's telling him to come off. He's saying no. He don't want to come off.
Romero is putting the thumbs up. Postecoglou's saying you're coming off. Romero responds by putting 2 thumbs up, and Postecoglou says no, you're still coming off. The thing is that you just cannot afford to take a chance with any head injury. Romero is still pleading with his manager not to remove him, and yet, and there is an embrace. Both hands go on the 2 cheeks of Romero from Postecoglou.
The manager made the right decision there because he was struggling a few times.
And that will go down as a concussion substitute as well for Sanchez to replace Romero. Only his 2nd goal for Tottenham Hotspur, and on his 50th Premier League appearance, although it didn't last long, it was at least a telling one.
He's not happy. He just threw the top down and he's gone down the tunnel. But I think if he goes home and they win 1-0 and he's going to win and goal, he'll be happy.
I'm thinking as well with the new protocols this season, I've got a feeling that now that will mean at least a 7-day.
Yeah,
if it is concussion, it'll mean that he'll be absent for 7 days now. But that'll of course will get tidied up after the game with Ange Postecoglou. Tell you what, we're going to have a lot of additional time in the first half here.
You're right.
We had a clash of heads, didn't we? And then we've had the goal celebration, the VAR. It'll all add up. But 15 minutes played. Tottenham Hotspur through Romero, leading by 1-0. Brentford have a throw. It's going to be a long one as well, as Jensen backs up to the advertising horde on that right-hand side. It's a long throw. It's hurled in towards the near post. Vicario punches it away. Maddison then turns and clears for Spurs. Rico Henry goes back to Flecken, the goalkeeper, back to Rico Henry. Kulusevski pushes towards him, and Mbeumo passes the ball back. Kulusevski leans into Henry, who recovered well to win that second duel against Emerson. And Mbumo tries to release Wissa.
Down the right hand side, Wissa cross. Matthias Jensen brings it under control for Brentford on the right hand side of their attack in towards Christian Norgard. He goes sliding in. It's Ayer recycles. Johan Wissa inside the penalty area. And Mbumo saved by Vicario. And a first corner kick for Brentford over on the left.
Yeah, now get the crowd up. It's the first time we've really seen them clap in unison. Lovely little overlap on this left hand side, which left Mbumo with a shot on the angle. You'd expect your keeper to save that, and Vicario did what he needed to do to palm it away for the corner. But that's good build-up play. Actually, the interesting thing from that was how quickly Spurs recovered into a defensive unit, which they struggled with last year, conceded way too many goals. But all 10 outfielders there recovering nicely into a very tight, compact unit behind the ball.
Corner kick, Brentford, first of the game, 16 minutes gone, 1-0 Tottenham Hotspur leading towards the near post. Well cleared though by the Spurs defence. BBC at Radio London on a Sunday afternoon. Matthias Jensen, who took the corner, prodded in field to Vitaly Janelt, back out wide towards Mbumo. His left-footed cross is just headed clear as far as Aaron Hickey. Shoot goes the cry, steps onto his left peg, drags a shot well wide, took a deflection. Corner kick, this time over on the right-hand side for Brentford.
Yeah, good sustained pressure. It all come earlier from a long throw from Jensen, and Tottenham haven't quite managed to have enough time in possession to have a couple of passes to relieve this pressure. Brentford have got all their players pushed within 25 yards of Spurs' byline, and I think they're going to be dangerous from set pieces. I know they've just conceded from one, but you look at the height in the box, certainly got an advantage.
Yeah, Collins, Ayer, Janelt, Pinnock, Norgard's over 6 foot. Brian Mbumo will take this corner kick, left-footed, drives it towards the far post. It'll be headed down towards Hickey, who toes it up in the air. Oh, Wissa with an acrobatic overhead shot, which is saved by Vicario. Made a good grab out of the air, did the Italian.
Yeah, and it was well worked, wasn't it? Collins just drifted to the back. The cross was overhit just only by a yard or two, which means Collins had to nod it down to the edge of the box, and the nod down was a bit too strong as well, because if it had just fallen at a dead weight for Norgard, he could have had the volley at goal. But that was acrobatic from Wissa. Easy save from Vicario.
Doji pokes it out wide towards the left-hand side, and Son Heung-min cushions it back to Basuma. Spurs leading by a goal to nil. 17.5 minutes played. Squirts it square, picked up by the Colombian Davison Sanchez. Kulusevski wide of him on the right-hand side. This pitch, of course, will have nothing but football on it this season. Last couple of years, London Irish were playing here as well, but the sad news of what happened to certainly the professional element of that rugby club in the months, well, the weeks just after the season, really, after a season that almost saw them got into the top 4. Here come Spurs again. That's an aim for all these clubs as it's poked forward like powerfully into the path of Richarlison. It's just bounced away from him, gathered by Mark Fleck. In fact, both goalkeepers have had just as tentative starts to the games. Flecken at one end and Vicario at the other, who will maybe take a lot out of that little save he made to stop the overhead, even though it was hit at him. Now down the right hand side, Brentford will try and attack again. Quickly taken throw in from Matthias Jensen, and Mbumo tickles it away from Basuma in midfield. On the halfway line, crossfield whip ball, looking for Rico Henry, drives down the left hand side, cushions it infield, and here's Mbumo. His shot though is blocked this time by Mickey van der Ven, and Spurs will clear it up the touchline. Across comes Pinnock's going to beat Richarlison to it. Rico Henry though has been denied possession by Kulusevski, who dives and drives forward down the right hand side, and then it's rolled out of play after Ethan Pinnock just used a little bit of force to muscle in on him and concede the throw in. Spurs have conceded it Brentford's way. Yeah, and that was that diagonal I spoke about in the early minutes. Rico Henry free on this left hand side. He was well found. He gets his cross in. I thought it was Udogie who sort of cut back and got the block in, which was vital because the trigger was just about to be pulled for a strike. And a very fast counter from Spurs, and you're not going to get away from Rico Henry if you're Kulusevski. And Mbumo from Hickey, and Mbumo goes onto the ball. Hickey goes for the return, edge of the penalty area. Doji this time though nips in, and that's gone out of play for another Brentford corner. Yeah, I mean, we're a long way from that, but it did look like a corner, but Udogie was convinced the last touch was off of Jensen. It should have been a goal kick, but corner's been given. Got to get these deliveries right. some instructions coming out to Mark Flecken as well from the sidelines here, noticing I think it's like let's get the ball forward quicker. Let's dawdle in our own part of the pitch.
And you're not getting anywhere, Phil. If you're passing through units, that's fine, but they're not getting anywhere from it.
Corner, roll back into midfield. Here is Rico Henry, drives in a cross, up in the air it goes. Norgard got on the end of it, but it looped up off his boot and it allowed Vicario to come and gather for Tottenham Hotspur. 20.5 minutes gone, 1-0 Spurs lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's another wicked delivery. This time it's Rico Henry into the middle of the 6, and actually Norgard just needs to put his studs on it and advance it forward, and he kind of tries to control it, and actually all he had to do was get something on it to push the ball towards Vicario in the Spurs goal, and I think we'd have seen an equaliser.
Davinson Sanchez on for Christian Romero, who scored the goal and then was substituted immediately. He was involved in a head knock with Brian Mbumu earlier in the half. When he scored, there seemed to be concern from his teammates inside the 6-yard box when they went to congratulate him. So the change was made immediately, and then he didn't want to come off, Steve. So
that's the threat we're talking about. You've got to cover yourself now for concussion, and if there's any slight danger that a player's got concussion, he's got to come off, and he won't like it, Romero. He didn't want to come off, but sadly that you're governed now by the governing bodies clamping down on that.
Son, left-hand side for Spurs. Doge runs into Nathan Collins, who just pickpockets possession and then slides it away to Matthias Jensen. Hickey receives it and finds Jensen again. Then Norgard turns away from the tensions in midfield, gets another opportunity. Good crisp passing. Brentford have worked it out towards Ayer. Left-hand side, wide of him, he's got Rico Henry, already halfway inside the Spurs half of the pitch. Loud, anticipatory cheers from the Brentford fans as they see Matthias Jensen break into the penalty area. He's gone to ground. He says he got clipped. Nothing given by the referee, Robert Jones, and then it's Pinnock and Richarlison battling for the ball on the far touchline. Matthias Jensen getting himself to his feet. Richarlison comes back towards the halfway line, and now it's going to be Son in possession. He's still down is the Danish midfielder, slowly getting himself up, and here is Kulusevski pinged back into midfield, and Emerson Royale, who receives a little cushion pass from Yves Bissouma. Matthias Jensen now jogging back towards his own half of the pitch, and Spurs have it with Bissouma. 1-0 Tottenham Hotspur lead on BBC Radio London on a Sunday afternoon. And it will be Emerson Royale who angles it to the right hand side, and Kulusevski is level with the edge of the Brentford penalty area. Back to Royale. Emerson Royale's cross is met by Hickey, manages to steer it away, and Matthias Jensen drives it out of play on the far touchline for a throw-in, and he says to Robert Jones, the referee, surely I was fouled.
Yeah, but you don't make your point that way. You put it out of play for a Spurs throw 15 yards into your own half, and you weren't under any pressure, so I don't know what Jensen's doing there.
Unless he thinks he wants the referee to go to VAR.
Well, the VAR would have already been in contact with the referee, wouldn't they? Surely. I don't think you can demand it as a player. VAR. Oh, they are.
Yeah, well, he's certainly been clipped. That's got to be a penalty, I think. Is it?
Oh, he's coming over. That's extraordinary. That game's been allowed to go on for almost a minute.
So what if Spurs had scored?
Yeah.
What if Spurs had scored with that cross from Emerson Royale? Robert Jones comes over, looks at the screen. VAR have told him to come and have a look at it. Matthias Jensen was convinced he got caught. He certainly got wrapped across the top of the foot, didn't he? Did Matthias Jensen? Was there a touch on the ball from the Spurs player? The referee's looking at it. What's he going to do now? Richarlison's having a chat with the assistant on this near touchline. He's going to come away from the screen and say it's a penalty to Brentford, Steve. So if Spurs had scored, that would have had to be chalked off, and we'd have a penalty which Ivan Toney's not here to take.
Yeah, I'm quite gobsmacked about that, if I'm honest. So all I'd like to know is at what point VAR intervened. Was it because Jensen did that and asked the question of the ref? Why didn't they intervene immediately as the challenge is made? Why haven't they looked at it within a split second?
Well, probably because it's a clear and obvious error that they need the referee to be given the opportunity to correct his clear and obvious error. So Robert Jones said it's no penalty. VAR probably looked at it and said, we think it probably is, you need to check it.
That's a long time
and now
those 2 points.
Son, who gave the penalty away, is being ushered out of the penalty area so that Brentford can get on and take the penalty. And Brian Mbumu will be handed the ball, and that's a yellow card to Vicario for complaining.
I'm not sure. I mean, we haven't even discussed the challenge itself. I mean,
Son did rake his foot across the top of Matthias Jensen's boot, I suppose. That's the judgment, Steve.
But enough for someone to go down like that? I just can't. It's so soft. It's, to me, you don't fall down like that from that challenge. You just don't. It's, wow. Listen, people can discuss it as much as they want, but here we go.
Brian Mbumu against Vicario. Here he goes for Brentford, and he scores the equaliser. Who needs Ivan Toney? Stuttered his way forward, sent the goalkeeper the wrong way, and poked it towards the right. And Brentford back on level terms in this game. And Brian Mbumu with his first goal of the season. The responsibility on the likes of his shoulders for taking the place of Ivan Toney, and his first opportunity to do so. He has scored it. It's Brentford 1, Tottenham 1.
Yeah, an excellent penalty actually. In terms of calmness, in terms of composure, in terms of picking your spot and believing in yourself. Curious run up, just to feint the goalkeeper out, I guess, but the accuracy and calmness of the strike, and we've got 1-1. I just don't like the penalty decision itself, and people can argue till they're blue in the face about that, about contact, about. It's where the game's changed enormously for me, like so much. It's not enough in that for me for the theatrical dive down to the ground to win the penalty. But in this day and age, you get them.
Lucy, you've been watching some. And then now I think Ryan Mason's been shown. Is it Ryan Mason?
Yes.
He's been shown a yellow card. Thomas Frank having a word with him. Klaus Norgard likewise, lots of shrugging of shoulders. You were noticing some interesting shenanigans on the sidelines.
I think as soon as that penalty was taken, I think Ryan Mason was a bit exercised about some of the celebrations on the Brentford bench and made his thoughts known.
Shot from kickoff, which you don't often see.
No, which went into the east stand, away to our right hand side, and then Spurs will press. Who's going to make a little run into? There's a huge gap between the midfield of Skip and Bissouma and the back four of Spurs.
It's interesting because Brentford have gone with a 4 right across the halfway line and are now going long. And we did say that inside the first 10 or 15 minutes, that if you're going to continue to play out, you're inviting pressure, and Tottenham were doing it particularly well. So we've seen a little change of tactics from Brentford where they're going 4 across the halfway line, and the width of the pitch, and they're playing longer now to avoid this press from Spurs. It'd be interesting to see what Spurs do.
Bissouma sliding it towards the left-hand side of the centre circle. Out on that flank is Son Heung-min, who's level with the edge of the Brentford penalty area. 1 apiece on BBC Radio London on a Sunday afternoon. All right in thinking, Steve, this has been a rather strange afternoon.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it?
Just all in, really. Starting with the very spicy potatoes that they were serving, and then a delayed kickoff because of a lack of water. No one quite knowing what's going on. We've had a few technical gremlins. We've had a head injury where both players come back on, an offside check against the goal that Spurs scored, and then the scorer immediately substituted but didn't want to come off, and then a penalty given three weeks after it was actually the foul was committed, or so it felt like, Steve, when Spurs could have scored in the intervening period. But apart from that, it's been great. 29 minutes gone, up in the air it goes. This is swirling around for a Brentford throw-in halfway inside their own half of the pitch.
I mean, the one thing you can say is it's a different Spurs setup.
Definitely.
Much different, in terms of what Postecoglou's got his team doing. He is trying to force teams to play out from the back so that they can get that little nick and with lots of bodies forward. Even when they're in possession, Phil, they've got lots of players in advanced position, so if there's a turnover, they can hunt down quickly and try and stay in the opponent's half.
Vicario forced to slide it out wide from a back pass, and then Kulusevski invited to dash down the right hand side onto this forward ball, looking to stretch Rico Henry. The Swede has it, pumps it back into Emerson Royale, looks square, finding Udogie, who retains possession for Tottenham. Maddison chipping it in towards the 6-yard box, little wedge shot really over the top of Richarlison, and out of play it goes for a goal kick, which will be taken by Mark Flecken.
Another thing is both fullbacks invert in possession. Emerson Royal picking up in a central midfield position, almost switching play. And actually, I think the decision to go sideways was the wrong one. The initial run from Kulusevski, he went short. And turned and went in behind, and it's a brilliant run. It caught Rico Henry out, but the one player that has the pace to catch you when he's done like that is Rico Henry. So he managed to get goal side, force Kulusevski back, but the minute he goes back in the midfield and sideways, Brentford have 10 players behind the ball, and I think Royale needed to go forward with that pass, not sideways.
Matthias Jensen, and it's swirled forward towards Wissa, who's got Brian Mbeumo darting in the area. Here's Johan Wissa, great block from Davison Sanchez, who blocked it off Johan Wissa for the goal kick. Really great recovery run from the Spurs substitute defender. He came on for Romero, and he needed it.
Yeah, all-round good play actually. The ball in behind for Wissa, the run from Wissa was timed to perfection. He's breaking down this left-hand side, and all you can see is him getting a shot away, and that recovery from Sanchez was outstanding, as was the block.
Kulusevski, full-time Spurs player now. When he first arrived, made a massive impact. Last season, I think, somewhat affected by injury, unable to get some real, absolute consistency at the level that he would want. Expectations this season to see him at his best again. Here come Tottenham Hotspur being forced back towards the halfway line. Emerson Royale.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's your full-back field, picking up, advanced central midfield. Opposite full-back inverted. So it's completely different Spurs, approach to the game.
Vitaliano has been dispossessed. Rico Henry runs into traffic. Spurs have had a free kick awarded against them. Vitaliano went to ground. Davison Sanchez is just spoken to by Robert Jones, the referee, with a little bit of a warning. He's come off the bench for Romero. Is the 27-year-old now, 200 appearances just over for Tottenham Hotspur for Davison Sanchez. 29th time off the bench as Brentford go long. Vicario side foots it away as Mbeumo was attacking the edge of the penalty area. Christian Norgard nudges a header away, this time from Maddison. The two number 8s run into each other. Matthias Jensen and Yves Bissouma, who's strongly holding off Matthias Jensen on this occasion, and then plays it behind Kulusevski for a throw-in on the left-hand side. And Postecoglou comes to the edge of his coaching box to get some instructions out there. A shrug, a wry smile, a turn away from the pitch, and here is Rico Henry into Wissa. Wissa, though, beaten to it this time by Mickey van der Ven, the young defender, and it will be Emerson Royale who finds the new acquisition again. Adoji, who's went away on loan, having been signed last summer, with an opportunity to play it into Yves Bissouma inside the centre circle. Curls it towards homegrown hometown boy Oliver Skipp. Kulusevski darts in from the right-hand touchline, toe pokes it to Bissouma behind him. Dogi's got a chance to thread it through. Son tries to break down the left-hand side of the Brentford penalty area. Maddison tried to discover him. Collins keeps it in for Brentford on the clearance down the right-hand flank. Shepherds it into midfield, and Hickey pokes it out wide to Mbeumo. Now it's Matthias Jensen who kept it in. Over the top for Wissa to chase. Davison Sanchez lets his goalkeeper come out of his penalty area, and he has to shuffle it out of play for a throw-in. Bit of breakdown in communication between central defender and goalkeeper there, Steve.
Yeah, I just think that the line that Spurs want to hold and the amount of players they gamble forward, it does leave them at times with a striker right on their shoulder looking to spin in behind, and I think Vicario is going to be seen to sweep up balls over the top quite a lot. I don't think that's something we're not going to see very often. I think we're going to see the Spurs keeper clearing balls out of play, at least half a dozen times across a 90-minute spell. But I go back to what Postecoglou was. He sort of wasn't happy with Bissouma, because I think possession is a large part of their game. But where they're struggling, Spurs, is Brentford do hold a very, very good line, and it's very hard to get in behind it once they're all behind the ball. So it's a patient build-up, as we're seeing. All 10 outfielders behind the ball. There is hardly any space to get down the sides or in behind that back line.
Kulusevski again tries to wriggle away from the attentions of Rico Henry. It's been well worked into Emerson Royale, plays it square. Son has his shot blocked though this time by Aaron Hickey, and then Christian Norgard tries to run it away, looks for options, manages to dink it behind him to Rico Henry, who clips it towards the halfway line. Davison Sanchez though beats Visa to the ball and then catches Visa, and he had been warned by the referee just 2 minutes ago, Robert Jones, and this time gets shown a yellow card.
Yeah, just want to talk about that break from Spurs though. Richarlison pulling one of the centre halves out. Lovely little ball, I think, to Skip. And the time of the run from Emerson Royale in behind was perfect. I don't know why he didn't get his shot away. He squared it to Son. And you don't have the luxury of that much time and space in the Brentford penalty area. They have a lot of bodies around, and I think Emerson Royale's decision to go square to Son was the wrong one. He should have got his shot away. It was a wonderful link up, a really good smooth move. The timing and passing was slick, and I think it deserved an end product, which it didn't get.
James Maddison got booked as well for complaining too vociferously with that free kick, and yellow card being awarded as Rico Henry tries to get round Emerson Royale, does so. It's Wissa with a shot. It's 2-1 Brentford. Rico Henry with the creation, Johan Wissa with the goal. It's a good 1-2 from the two up front for Brentford. Ivan Toney's not missed at all, neither has Wissa, neither's Mbeumo. It's Brentford 2, Tottenham 1.
Yeah, and I said they were vulnerable. It was noticeable from the first couple of minutes. Kulusevski has clearly been told he doesn't have to track back down this right-hand side. He's got no defensive responsibilities really at all. And then they look to gang up on the opposition down this right-hand side. Skip normally tries to join Emerson Royale, and they try and get Joy high up the pitch, outnumbering their opponents. But what it does, it leaves them a little bit bare on the counter-attack, and that's the third or fourth time Rico Henry's broke down this left. It wasn't a particularly great cutback. It only just about had enough pace on it to get to Visa. The shot wasn't convincing either, but I think it's taken a little deflection past Vicario, and it's a really poor goal to concede. Brentford won't care. 2-1.
It's taken a wicked deflection, actually, with all due respect to Johan Wissa's strike, but I think it's come off Mickey van der Ven and beaten Vicario, who was diving to his left.
Yeah, it's a horrible goal to concede, actually.
But you've got to feel sorry for the defender because he's trying to make the block.
Yeah, it's actually a poor block as well. When you see he's on the ground, he shouldn't be on the ground, he should be standing up. But Rico Henry's getting in behind that Spurs backline on too many occasions. Royale this time allowing Henry to get goal side, but it's all immaterial. Brentford lead 2-1, but it's a poor goal to concede. And I mean, they conceded 38 on the road last year, Tottenham, 2 a game, and they've conceded 2 again today, and it's an area that they've got to improve on dramatically. Well,
their games produced the most number of goals in the Premier League last season. Tottenham Hotspur 133 in total. We've already had 3 in this game, and we've only played 37.5 minutes. Finished 2-2, by the way, when they were here last season on Boxing Day. Spurs came from behind on that occasion in order to get the draw. Harry Kane, scorer of one of the goals, almost inevitably. And then Brentford at the back end of the season, when they won 3 on the bounce, 5 out of the last 6. One of them was that 3-1 victory at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the first victory over Spurs since being promoted into the top flight. Here on the left-hand side, it's Son Heung-min, tries to turn Aaron Hickey. He forces him back towards the halfway line. Yeah, different role for him as well. Stuck out high and wide. He normally likes to break on the inside channel, and linking up obviously with Harry Kane. He's not linking up with anybody particularly today, certainly not with Richarlison. He's stuck out wide left. Norgon's gone down injured. Here is Rico Henry, and he shepherds it out of play. I think he got nudged by Kulusevski anyway, so the referee, Robert Jones, may well have given a free kick. Christian Norgard's picked up a knock in the middle of the melee, and the referee's had quite a lot to do. Thomas Frank comes to the edge of his technical area and applauds his team's efforts. It's it's an interesting, as you say, I mean, the whole approach that we expected from Tottenham under Ange Postecoglou was to be more entertaining, Steve. Was to create more chances, be more attacking. It's what Thomas Frank said, that's what we all said, that's what those observers of the Australians' football have suggested as in midfield again. Spurs almost get caught in possession. They do get caught in possession, but Bryan Mbeumo was using too much physicality for the referee's liking, and the free kick is being given and we've 5 minutes plus added on time before the break with Brentford leading 2-1.
Was there too much physicality though?
Well, I don't know. Son drives in across, Flecken gathers.
I thought that was good, hard-fought football. But there you go. Again, this time the ball wide left, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Spurs to go into wide areas. It's not the worst delivery in the world, but you've got Richarlison floating around in between three massive centre halves, and if you're going to put balls in with quality like that, the movement in the box and the numbers in the box have to be better. You've got to get somebody zipping across the near post, and they just didn't have anybody, and it became an easy take for Flecken.
Udogie out towards Son, left-hand side, closed down by Hickey, just outside the Brentford penalty area. Spurs in the dark blue shirts and shorts. That's Maddison with the cross, steered away by Ethan Pinnock, and Brumo carries the ball forward, drives over the halfway line, tries to angle it into the path of Wissa, but Spurs are back in good numbers, and then here come Tottenham Hotspur with Maddison on the halfway line. Maddison looking to curl it out wide towards Kulusevski on the right, does so, finds the flame-haired Swedish international who cushions it infield towards the edge of the centre circle. Now it's Udogie down that left-hand touchline who runs into a little bit of traffic. It's steered away by Norgard. Jensen had initially won it, and then Jensen just manages to shield it away from the Tottenham left back, and it's dinked up the right-hand touchline for Norgard. Jensen looking to reverse it out wide towards Rico Henry, who's infield from the attempts of winning the ball from Kulusevski, then bounces into Oliver Skipp, who looks up at the heavens as Kulusevski didn't play it into his path, and it's been nicked back by Norgard again. Wissa in possession, he's given it away. A lot of turnover of play in the last couple of minutes, Steve. Kulusevski rolls it to Van der Ven inside the centre circle for Tottenham Hotspur. 3.5 plus added on time to go before the break.
Yeah, I don't think the first few games of any season are particularly slick. That's why we're seeing probably a lot of turnovers in the latter stages of this first half. Tiredness will set in, creep in, and they get the recovery at half time. But again, you look down now, Richarlison's breaking down the left, just Skipp in the centre of the 6-yard box, and Kulusevski out the back end. They need to find a way to get more bodies into that penalty area if they're going to cross it.
Goes a little quiet. His deflected shot up in the air from Bissouma, patted down by Mark Flecken. Ripple of applause from the Brentford fans, some of them wearing baseball caps, shielding their eyes. Just a weak sun just poking its way through some of the clouds here, which have darkened somewhat in West London this afternoon. Chelsea against Liverpool later. Rolled away from Flecken towards Ethan Pinnock, former Dulwich Hamlet defender. Just gives it a thump up the touchline, percentage ball really from Pinnock, just to push the ball into the Spurs half really, but no one chased it down.
That. Spurs have got 6 players in advanced areas. Keeper goes sideways to Pinnock, who blasts it forward. To me that just seems a complete waste of possession, but it is what they do these days. If there's nothing blatant on, they'll go long, but that was just put into an area, allowed Tottenham to regain possession, but 10 yards in their own half.
Anderson Royale starts things in motion again. 59th start for Tottenham Hotspur today, finding Son. A lot of onus maybe on him to get goals this season. His cross though, he's playing very wide at the moment. He's headed away by the Brentford backline. He was looking for the bleached locks of Richarlison, and then Bissouma drags Johan Wissa down, having lost the ball to Wissa, and the free kick has been awarded by Robert Jones, the referee. Less than 2 minutes of normal time to go at the end of this first half, Steve Brown.
Yeah.
Brentford leading 2-1.
Yeah, and that cross from Son, there was Skipp, there was Maddison, Kulusevski and Richarlison in the box. But Maddison's sort of taken up that zone where you normally see Son linking up with his strike partners, getting beyond the back line. At the moment, Son's not breaking the back lines at all. He is stuck out wide left. He is looking threatening. There are balls being delivered from that left-hand side from him. Just had no joy at the moment from any of those deliveries.
Flecken has lost possession almost. Brentford somehow have managed to recycle it. They've got it with Matthias Jensen. Wissa is a more direct target. He's tugged down by Oliver Skipp, who's going to get booked because there was a massive grab of the shirt from the Tottenham Hotspur midfielder. The 22-year-old born in Welwyn Garden City was a youth team player at Bengio Tigers. Steve, I know you like animal printed shirt. I wonder if because you were talking about Lee yesterday, Lee Leopards and their leopard print shirts.
Fantastic win.
Yeah, very good indeed against Hull.
Exciting finish, top goal.
It's a great game. Yeah. It's a good game. Rugby League in 3 finals yesterday at Wembley. Congratulations as well to St Helens women for their victory against Leeds Rhinos. but I'm not sure about leopard print kits.
No,
Steve.
no, I'm with you on that.
Hull City had a tiger print kit for a while, didn't they? Once. Here comes the free kick from Matthias Jensen. Pinnock's gone forward, flicked on by Collins, looking for Ayer. Kulusevski works it clear. Now the break is on for Tottenham Hotspur. Basuma gets clear of one tackle, manages to angle it out wide. Son's popped up on this near touchline. The new captain for Tottenham Hotspur. 11 minutes of added time, ladies and gentlemen. 11 minutes.
We're going to miss kickoff for Chelsea-Liverpool.
Mate, people are going to miss the last bus home. And this is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they run all night on the Superloop, which isn't in this part of the world. Here's Kulusevski. 11 minutes. It's unbelievable. Well, we had a VAR, 2 VARs, a lengthy head injury, and that's after the 7-minute delay to the start of the game because of a lack of water. So
they are going to have to start experimenting with ball in play 30 minutes without any shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Clock runs when the ball's in play, 30 minutes each half. I think it runs on average about 56 minutes, so that would be fine.
Yeah.
Because 11's getting ridiculous. I don't know where 11's come from, to be honest.
No. Well, there's been bookings, substitutions, goals. There was the VAR. Son has it poked away from him by Phil. So it's a throw into Spurs on the right-hand side.
Bookings were part of the game. They weren't an add-on. That's just, you get booked.
Yeah.
Everyone accepts. I don't know what they're adding on for bookings, but I don't think you should add on. But if you start doing ball in play, so the clock's not running when someone's getting booked because the ball's not in motion.
Mickey van der Ven has to turn away from Matthias Jensen, does so successfully. Spurs have possession. We've played a minute and a half of the added 11 in this first half. Brentford clear it with a volley away from Ethan Pinnock towards the halfway line. So this half will last 56 minutes, Steve.
It needs looking at. Yeah, it needs looking at. But we'll, suffer it, I'm sure, for this season. But we'll see. A lot of managers will start complaining. You're asking a lot of the players physically.
Yeah, you are, and this is the first game of the season. You certainly are. As Udogie pokes it forward, Son on the edge of the Brentford penalty area, out wide. Here comes the cross that ricochets off the young Spurs defender, driven away by Nathan Collins towards the halfway line where Spurs recycle. 2 minutes and a bit of the added 11 have elapsed. People talking about, people are getting value for money as a consequence, but that's one thing, isn't it? It depends.
No thought process for the players.
No, or actually sometimes there are some games, Steve, that you just wish the referee would put out of their misery. Not this one.
As well.
Not
that as well.
Not this one. But could you imagine if Reading QPR had gone on for another 11 minutes, Steve? that famous game. Here's Maddison, good delivery into the penalty area. Pinnock with a flicked header. Son with a volley, puts it wide.
Yeah, it would have to be an extraordinary strike from that acute angle from Son. I quite like the reaction. He's got the flight of the ball early, and in the back of his mind this was a volley at goal, because they haven't had too many attempts, let's be brutally honest, since the goal. And he's taken a little pot shot with that left foot. It's not quite connected properly. It's almost off the shin and rolled down to his foot, and it was always right side of that right hand post of Flecken, so it was always drifting wide. But the way Brentford defend is extremely frustrating for opponents, and you've got to be very clever, you've got to be very cute, you've got to be very intelligent. The timing of your pass and your runs has got to be spot on to break through it, and they're struggling to break it down at the moment, Spurs.
The problem, here we go, Spurs are breaking with Son actually down the left hand side of the penalty area, steps in on his right boot, plays it though behind, clearance of Matthias Jensen, falls to Emerson Royale, closed down by Vitaly Janelt. Has to angle it to the right hand touchline beyond Kulusevski, who comes to field it, back in field to Emerson Royale. 2-1 Brentford lead after 4 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. Matthias Jensen again scoops it clear into midfield, recycled by Tottenham. Maddison thought about playing it at the outside of his right boot, he's been caught, and then it's a drive and a super sumptuous strike from Emerson Royale which beats Flecken, and Tottenham Hotspur are back on terms. Emerson Royale with a drive just above the cut of the grass, the keeper diving to his right, couldn't keep it out, and it's Brentford 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Yeah, and I was actually going to make a complaint. He should have struck the first clearance at goal, Royale. He played it out to Kulusevski and the ball ran away, and I was going to say, why doesn't he strike? The clearance from Jensen wasn't good enough. It fell to Royale at dead weight, centre of the box, 22 yards out, and he went sideways. And that was my complaint just moments before that strike. It's a wonderful strike from Royale. Brentford very, very guilty here of not clearing their lines. I use that as a phrase that's probably a little bit dirty these days. You want to see teams play out. You don't see many teams just hack it clear. And I bet Thomas Frank will say that's exactly what they should have done, because they had a couple of opportunities, Brentford, to clear the lines, didn't, and it's been punished with a lovely strike from Royale. Kept it down, low and hard, past Flecken, away to his right-hand side. 2-2.
So it's the Spurs fans who are back on their feet. The Sao Paulo-born 24-year-old, fourth goal for Tottenham Hotspur.
We're thankful for those 11 minutes now, Spurs.
Yeah, we've still got 6 to go, Steve.
It could be 3 all by the time we're done.
And that's only the first half.
It's a lovely strike, though.
Rico Henry wriggles away from a couple of challenges. He breaks forward towards the edge of the Tottenham penalty area, in towards Wissa, driven clear. Matthias Jensen, he thought about shooting, wriggles it instead towards Mbeumo, keeps it in on the right hand side, whips in across. Rico Henry trying to attack. Here's Jan out with a shot, but there's a blow for the referee. I think Rico Henry was fouling Oliver Skipp, who tracked back with him. It's a free kick to Tottenham Hotspur.
Excellent break down the left hand side again. You know, the guy's got so much stamina, so much energy and pace to burn, and he whips in a cross that gets deflected out to the edge of the box. And again, I'd have to criticise Jensen. Why go sideways from 19 yards out, centre of the goal? The ball's not coming at you too fast that you need to take a first touch. He's technically a wonderful player. I don't know why he hasn't elected to shoot there, and Tottenham were all at sea a little bit. They committed a lot of players forward and couldn't get back.
Richarlison chests it down, pokes it to Kulusevski, right hand side of the Spurs attack on the edge of the Brentford penalty area, down toward the byline, dumps Ayo onto his backside, and then the cross is deflected up in the air. Richarlison will come and retrieve possession for Spurs. He runs into Aaron Hickey, who keeps it in just about on that far touchline, tries to get away from the Brazilian, back into Collins. Here's Matthias Jensen, hasn't got a lot of options to go forward, back to Collins. They're being a little bit risky at Brentford, then they work it into Matthias Jensen in midfield. He's clumped by Basuma, goes to ground, and a free kick is awarded by the referee, which has already been taken. 2-2, BBC Radio London, Sunday afternoon in West London with darkening clouds. It was nice and sunny earlier, Steve.
It was,
the sun gone.
Yeah, but you're right. You know, they have to play that way to keep possession, because if they pump it long, there are no options, and Spurs would retrieve possession and they wouldn't be able to get out of their own half, Brentford. So they're very comfortable and adept at doing that. You know, it's risky football, but they're very, very good in little tight spaces playing out from the back, because they know they've got 10 players, you know, in close proximity to be able to do that. It is still very, very risky, mind.
Here is Christopher Ayer. Thanks of Celtic, of course, as Matthias Jensen tries to spread it from right to left. Rico Henry won't get there this time. Emerson Royale will get there first. He'll shepherd it out of play for a goal kick. And just trying to work out, well, we've still got another 3 and a bit minutes of this first half to go, Steve.
Yeah, but if you think about Brentford's performance, Hickey's barely got down that right-hand side as a wing-back. It's all been down this left with Rico Henry. I thought Brentford were running away with the game. I thought Tottenham having a poor spell, 2-1, and deserved to be 2-1 up, but they found a way to claw themselves back into the game. It'd be interesting, the two team talks at half time, because this game's become very, very open in this added on time.
Adjust your stopwatch for the goal celebration as well. You need to add some time on for that.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. There was a goal in added time, Steve, so
it's getting silly, isn't it?
It's a very good point, Lucy. So 57 on the big clock, Steve, is probably where we'll get to. It's exhausting, isn't it? All the way back to Fleck at 2-2.
But it is interesting though, Phil, the game, you know, notoriously Brentford are very, very compact out of possession.
Lost possession, Maddison clipping Hickey.
But that's the risk. That's what we're talking about. That's the risk. They are very good at playing out, and they are very calm under pressure.
Yeah.
And they give the player in possession options, short options, you know, but if you get caught, then your position are right on top of your goal mouth. But yeah, interesting. I think the last, or added on time in particular, the game's been a lot more open, and that is because physically players are just tiring. They can't get back into the positions that the manager would want them to retrieve into.
The assistant on this near touchline did a little two-step shuffle then. Flag went into the right hand, the left hand, the right hand. Eventually Brentford got the throw, and they're breaking forward with Rico Henry down the left-hand side, and Brumo's inside that penalty area. It's Henry to Brumo! This time puts it over the bar, and it was deflected over the bar, was it? No, it's a miss. I think it's been given. Spurs defenders tracking back. I think Udogie was back there, and Vicario likewise. Vitaly Janelt has gone forward to close down on a Spurs quick play out, but Rico Henry's extraordinary.
I've said this before to you, and I've said it off air, I've said it while I've been here. I don't know why he hasn't been plucked by one of the top.
Brentford have won it back from the clearance. They're putting a bit of pressure now on Yves Bissouma, who pokes it behind him. That's a good little drag by Davison Sanchez to get clear of the attentions of Wissa. Pinnock on the halfway line, heads it down. Here's Nathan Collins, filters it forward. Mbeumo wasn't in the position I think he thought he might have been, and Emerson Royal, scorer of that second Spurs goal, able to carry it away.
Yeah, it's a big miss though. We haven't even discussed that. It's a wicked ball in from Emery. The only out ball I'll give him, Mbeumo, it was hard. It was on the half volley, and he had to get over the centre line, hit the top of the ball, keep that ball down and on target, and he probably would have given Brentford the lead. But it was a wicked break down the left, well found, another excellent pass in behind Royal that Rico Henry comes onto. The delivery is exquisite. Should be 3-2.
Davison Sanchez to Emerson Royal, scorer of the second Spurs goal. On the right hand side it's Kulusevski. Finished 2-2 between these two teams last season. We're not quite at half time at the moment. It's already 2-2 in this game. Here's Maddison, a point at that penalty area again, trying to twist and turn and confuse and confound Matthias Jensen. Instead he clips it towards Emerson Royal. Pinnock with a header away, and Mbeumo manages to clip it further forward, and the referee says yep, 11 minutes of added on time is enough at the end of this first half, which started late because of a lack of water in the stadium apparently, Steve, which saw a head injury and lengthy treatment required for Christian Romero and Bryan Mbeumo. Romero got himself up to his feet and scored the opening goal of the game from a James Maddison free kick. Then he was immediately substituted because he was obviously still feeling a bit groggy, to be replaced by Davison Sanchez. Brentford equalised through the penalty kick of Bryan Mbeumo after about 2 minutes of play had been allowed to continue. Then eventually they went back and checked it, and a penalty was given. They then took the lead through Johan Ruisa's deflected shot. So Spurs behind for the first time in the game, and then on level terms, as Brentford really didn't clear their lines very well, and in the second bite of the cherry that Emerson Royal had, he really drove it sumptuously past Mark Flecken. We then had 11 minutes of added on time. It's somewhere near Monday. It's Brentford 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
BBC Radio London,
the home of London football.
Well, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to digest. Certainly a new style of play from Spurs, which I quite like. I think that's only going to get better and better the more time Postecoglou gets to spend with his team. I thought Brentford, once they got themselves back into the game, grew and were the stronger of the two sides.
Yeah.
And fair play to Spurs for coming back into it. I couldn't actually see them breaking down Brentford and getting back on level terms, and it was a wonderful strike from Emerson Royal that beat Flecken low down to his right. So I think Brentford will be the more disappointed. They both have 5 shots at goal. Brentford have had 4 on target. Tottenham have scored with the 2 that they've managed to get on target. And I guess Brentford will be, expecting to have gone in 2-1 up. I don't think they felt they were in a position where they were going to relinquish the lead. The one thing for me, you can go on about all the added on time and stuff. The one thing for me is that I appreciate penalties will get given for that these days. It's just a personal slant from me that I don't like to see penalties given for that. But I do understand that football is where it's at, and those kind of challenges in modern day football will get given. I just don't like it. There's not enough contact for me to throw yourself to the ground. If you can stay on your feet, you should stay on your feet. And that's the only bone of contention I've got in regards to what happened in that first 45 minutes. But interesting to see Tottenham and their new style, and it is different, completely different. We haven't seen that. They've normally been behind the ball and negative under the last managers. They're certainly not going to be like that this year, and it does leave them exposed at times, which we've seen particularly down Brentford's left, with Rico Henry getting in behind on several occasions. But the game's finally poised for the second 45.
Just in regards to Brentford's way of playing out, when they have to go long, if they obviously they've not missed Ivan Toney with goals because they've scored 2 like they did when he was injured at the end of last season. They scored goals, but for an out ball, he is a very different proposition than either Wissa or Mbeumo, who are triers and they will do what they can. Ivan Toney's a slightly different customer when it comes to the long out ball.
Yeah, so you can use Ivan Toney aerially, where you get him to pick on the smallest defensive player in the opposition side. He'll go out there and you can go long and expect to win the flick on, or at least the header back's not going to go far, so you can push your midfield up and try and win the seconds. The only thing I can think they can do today is Mbeumo is extremely strong. And it doesn't matter if you've got 6-inch advantage aerially, he is very, very strong with his upper body. And we've seen, looking down on the pitch, there's this 25-yard gap, isn't there, from the press from Tottenham to Mbeumo up front. And maybe they could drop a ball in that bounces, so over that press, and it bounces and into Mbeumo's midriff, because there's not many centre-halves that are going to outpower him physically and come around the side of him, and he holds it up with his midriff. But that is delicate, it's not easy. But yeah, I think when they go long, there is a worry that they're going to lose that first contact and lose that ball up.
We saw Son drift over here right at the end of the first half, but as you said during the game, that the Spurs captain spent quite a bit of time quite wide out on the left-hand side. How much of, when you're adapting to a new system, do you have to get used to the new system before you start being a bit more flexible with it?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's allowed a great deal of flexibility, because even out there you would expect Son to come inside on that right foot, link up with Richarlison, link up with Maddison, who's drifted into that pocket of space in between Son and Richarlison and maybe 5 yards off of them, and that kind of stops Son coming inside and linking up, because it's already taken up by Maddison. But yeah, it's a different role for him in the team. He'll do what's best for the team to start with until he becomes a little bit frustrated. But we normally see Son breaking from deep areas, getting beyond the striker. We know Harry Kane like to drag players out, and Richarlison is trying to do the same, but he just doesn't have the same quality, the same timing, and he's getting used to that role. He's been by and large out the side, so we've got to give him time to get back up to speed and play that lone striker role, dragging centre halves out. And we saw one good move in that first half where he dragged the centre half out, and it was Oliver Skipp who got fed and Emerson Royale who got him behind. So it can happen, but they are finding it more difficult this season than they have in previous seasons. But that's a work in progress, Phil, because of a change of personnel.
Thanks, Steve. Let's have a look ahead to the second game of the day in the Premier League, shall we? Chelsea getting their season underway against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge in about 20 minutes' time, innit? I think it just feels like... Not quite. Some questions as to how both these sides are going to perform this time round after disappointing campaigns. But Mauricio Pochettino, the new Chelsea boss, says they've got more work to do than Jurgen Klopp's side. Xavi, we'll get team news from you in about 10 minutes' time. We're off and underway for the start of the second half here at the GTEC Community Stadium. I think they've gone early, Luce, don't you think?
Well, they've got to. Safeguard the 4:30 kickoff.
Do you know who's told them to go early? The TV broadcasters, because they don't want this game overrunning into exactly the game that Xavi's at.
Absolutely right.
So this is how it's been massively dictated now. So actually they don't get the full 15 minutes. I think that was 14 minutes, but there you go. Anyway, we're off and underway for the start of the second half. No changes made at the break by either team that we can see. 2-2 is the scoreline. Maddison's nicked the ball in midfield. Here comes Spurs attacking from right to left in the second half. Plays it just behind Oliver Skipp. He retains possession. Scorer of the second goal. Emerson Royale, though, manages to dribble it out wide to Kulusevski, and then Emerson Royale gets it back. Go through the lineups if you just joined us in a moment or two. We didn't even really go through the benches that much. We've seen one of them, and that is Davinson Sanchez, who watches on as Maddison whips in across, and then Matthias Jensen hacks it away. Flecking in goal for Brentford. Back three: Ayer, Collins, Pinnock, Hickey, Jensen, Norgard, Janot and Henry, with Mbeumo and Wissa up front, a goal apiece for them. Vicario in goal for Spurs. Royale, Sanchez now for Romero, who scored a goal and then immediately got substituted because he picked up, we think, a head knock. Well, it was a head knock, and that's probably why he's gone off. Mickey van der Ven and Destiny Adoji in the back line. Skipp and Bissouma, Kulusevski, Maddison, Son Heung-min and Richarlison. Steve.
Yeah.
We've played a minute and 40 of the second half as Son breaks down the left-hand touchline for Tottenham Hotspur in the navy blue shirts and shorts. Matthias Jansen's gone down, holding his thigh, so that looks like a muscular injury, as Maddison's going to strike it goalward straight at Flecken.
Yeah, and Flecken's probably going to put this out of play so that Jensen can receive his treatment and probably depart, if I'm honest, because it's very unusual for a player to come out second half and go down that quickly.
Yeah, Mikael Damsgaard's stripped.
You normally, when you stuff with a dead leg and you get through the first half and you sit at half time and it just all freezes up and you think, yeah, I can run this off, and you get out first couple of minutes, you can't. It just seizes up on you. So that may be what's happening here. But Tottenham have had a good start there, and I think Maddison's going to be a big player for them this year. I think it's a good signing, in terms of finding these little pockets of space in tight areas where he can receive, control quickly, get his head up. He's exactly what Tottenham need in this system. I think they're going to find themselves up against compact defences, and I think Maddison's well equipped to receive and play under pressure, and he is the bright spark actually in their performance, in terms of he won the free kick for the first goal, and it seems to me that he's getting involved in play more than any other Spurs player.
Yeah, Matthias Jansen will not be able to continue. He is going to be replaced by Mikael Damsgaard, and it's the season where I think there is an expectation we may see more from Mikael Damsgaard this season. He came with an injury really last year, wasn't able to get fully fit. Thomas Frank says he is improving all the time, and Matthias Jansen rather disconsolately walks slowly to the sideline. So Damsgaard on, one Dane for another, and he will want to get involved in the game as quickly as possible, but getting up to speed in this game with Spurs pressing in now on Mark Flecken as it gets rolled back to him. He dinks it up the right hand touchline. Here's Hickey, steers it in field from Udogie, who goes in hard to try and win the ball back, and then Hickey catches and brings to ground the Spurs defender, and a free kick's been taken quickly by Yves Bissouma. Son sweeps it back towards the halfway line. Davinson Sanchez finds Van den Ven, and it's Van den Ven on the halfway line that may have to be the option again as the ball is pushed back into his own half of the pitch before he cushions it towards Guglielmo Vicario, and he angles it towards the right hand side of the Spurs 18-yard box, and here's Davinson Sanchez. Emerson Royale prods it back to his goalkeeper. Vitaly Janelt this time with the closing down on the Italian into midfield. Nathan Collins has won it back quickly round the corner. Here's Brian Mbeumo. Norgaard's made a very good run into the area, tries to just dribble it right footed into the 6-yard box for Damsgaard, yet to score for Brentford, and it ricochets off the Brentford skipper last for a goal kick to Tottenham Hotspur.
Good run though. Again, it's on the turnover from a ball out from the keeper. Both sides guilty of it in the last phases of play. Flecken tried to drift it out to Hickey, caught in possession. Tottenham guilty giving the ball away. It ended up with their own goalkeeper. And again, the ball out from Vicario intercepted. Great. It was actually really good pressure from Collins that got the turnover. And I thought the run from Norgaard, we don't see that run from him very often, do we? In behind the back line, and it was unlucky to get a double ricochet.
And its goal kick is taken by Mickey Van der Ven. This is Richarlison, heads it out wide towards the far touchline, wins it back temporarily from Ayer, who then tries to put a little bit of physical pressure on him. Davinson Sanchez into Yves Bissouma, looking towards the left and maybe going more directly forward over the halfway line. Spurs have lost possession, but Damsgaard's been penalised for catching James Maddison. The former Leicester City man is up to his feet.
Again, that's no different than a penalty. Very minimal contact, theatricals, free kick, and I appreciate that's the way the game's going. It's just, I think you don't have to be so theatrical. But again, we were talking about, weren't we, during half-time, about where football's going, and it's bypassing the modern-day press, isn't it, in terms of teams gambling 5-6 players forward to stop you playing out.
Richarlison's on the edge of the Brentford penalty area, wriggles away from Ethan Pinnock's, got some angle out wide to the left-hand side of the 6-yard box. Norgaard tracks back, blocks it out of play. Spurs have a corner kick. We know that the former Norwich and Leicester man James Maddison is very creative from set pieces. 6 minutes gone, second half, it's a corner to Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, the ball in for the first goal was exquisite. He's just placed the ball now. And I don't see Brentford being particularly vulnerable from set pieces, but they've already conceded one today, so
Son jogs to the near post, it's in towards the far post, flicked up in the air from Davison Sanchez, and then Christopher Ayer is less than convincing with his clearance. He 50p's it out off his boot, out of play for another corner kick, and Maddison's going to jog from left to right to take it, Steve.
Yeah, he lost sight of it, and as it came over his shoulder, he tried to get a boot on it and out for a throw in, and it just cannoned off the wrong part of the foot and out for a corner. But yeah, Maddison from one side to the other, so we've gone from the in-swinger to the out-swinger. Tottenham made first contact with that. I think it was Sanchez who got first contact. Thomas Frank won't be keen on them getting first contact again.
Maddison delivers into the 6-yard box. This time it's Pinnock with the header, and it's a deflected, scuffed drive in the end from Kulusevski. Didn't hit a Brentford player. He really scuffed at it, really, and it will be a goal kick which Mark Flecken will take. 2-2, 7.5 minutes played, second half. Some pictures of Ben Mee watching on. The experienced former Burnley defender. He had a great season in his first year at Brentford. And we've got 53 minutes on the clock, which is still 3 shy of how many we had on the clock at the end of the first half, Steve.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's been a good start from Spurs. They've been on the front foot. They pushed Brentford back. A couple of set pieces there. They're certainly on the front foot and looking to stamp their authority early in the second 45. Brentford have yet to get going, but they will.
Nathan Collins went forward for that clearance as well, did the Irishman. He's going to take a throw in on the right hand side, but a bit of aerial height from the long clearance from Flecken. Loops it up the touchline to Mbeumo, tries to turn away from Son, came off the Spurs skipper last, throw in a Brentford as Spurs were arguing their case. Brentford took the throw in, it flicks off Mbeumo's boot into midfield, where Doji's taking it clear of Christian Norgard. Here is Emerson Royale on the halfway line, 17,066 inside the stadium. 54 minutes gone. Kulusevski steers it back into Emerson Royale, delivers right-footed, up in the air it goes from Norgard. Richarlison tries to take it down. Collins slips on the ball, under pressure from Richarlison, and in the end he has to hurry it out of play for a corner kick.
Yeah, Richarlison had a decision to make. He could have just flicked that first time with the outside of his boot to Son, who was on his outside, but you can understand why he wants to control that. If he gets a good first touch, he's got an opportunity to get a shot away, and chances for Richarlison in this game have been few and far between, so you can understand him wanting to do that.
Puts his left hand up in the air, does James Maddison. Son again comes short. Maddison, though, is going to curl it towards the back post. Flecken this time plucks it out of the air over the top of Nathan Collins.
Yeah, good claim. As a centre half, when you're pivoting in the box and you've been put under pressure physically and you're trying to keep your eye on the flight of the ball, it makes a massive difference when your keeper can come and just relieve all that pressure.
Again, Spurs this time making the press pretty effective. It's been pushed up the touchline. Ayer into Wieser, back for Ayer again. Wieser couldn't quite flick it towards the Norwegian, and that's going to ricochet out of play for a Spurs throw. They take it quickly. Bissouma just inside the Brentford half of the pitch. 2-2 on BBC Radio London, as Spurs have ridden the tackles and flicked it out wide towards Son on the left-hand touchline. The South Korean legendary star manages to poke it back towards the halfway line via Van der Ven, who has it this time from Davison Sanchez. All this play taking place almost in the final third. It's Van der Ven again. Patience from Tottenham Hotspur. Brentford are just shuffling from side to side, trying to give no gap for Tottenham to break through. Here's Kulusevski, tries to race around that Rico Henry. It's Richarlison and Pinnock battling for the ball. Pinnock takes it out wide towards the left-hand side and then just steams it away up the touchline. It's gone out of play for a throw into Tottenham.
Yeah, he read it well, actually, did Ethan Pinnock. He got goal side down that left-hand channel and intercepted well. Richarlison looking to receive.
Kulusevski again tries to dribble it down the outside of the Brentford penalty area. And at the moment, Spurs are the ones really asking the questions, putting a lot of pressure on that Brentford penalty area. Will the staunch defence of the home team break? That's what Ange Postecoglou, with his hands in his pockets, is hoping for at this moment in time. Maddison pushes it out wide towards the left-hand side, and Son steps back onto his right boot, angles it into the path of Van den Ven. Just in front of the centre circle is Davison Sanchez now for Tottenham Hotspur. 2-2 the scoreline here on BBC Radio London. 56.5 minutes gone. Now Kulusevski drives towards the byline. Hickey has to head it away rather awkwardly, puts it into a dangerous area. Maddison has it scooped away from him, and then it's going to be volleyed all the way back by Davison Sanchez to his goalkeeper Vicario.
They just can't keep hold of the ball at the moment, Brentford, because they drop everybody, all outfield players really deep, and they're being put under pressure with some good possession-based football from Spurs. They just can't get out at the moment, Brentford.
Pinnock heads it down into midfield. Skip slips off his knee. Picked up by Norgard, who tries to chip it down the left-hand side. Wieser steers it in field. Janout's got Bremer breaking. Here's Mikkel Damsgaard. 1 touch, 2 touches, and he bobbles it into the ground, and it's a comfortable save for the Italian keeper. And Mikkel Damsgaard, yet again, waits for his first Brentford goal.
Yeah, and it's half a chance because that ball was coming to him at such a pace from the push out from Vicario. He had to take a touch. I wondered if at first he could come on and just drive that ball. I think if he had done it, would have been it would have had to have been an unbelievable strike. So taking the touch was okay, but then the pressure came from behind and in front, and he rushed the shot. Technically, it wasn't a particularly good one either. Easy save for Vicario.
Rico Henry has intercepted a crossfield ball driven by James Maddison. Still has it, Henry pushes it into Damsgaard inside the centre circle. Richarlison's putting him under pressure, so he dinks it towards the right, and Rico Henry lets it bobble off his shins into Brian Mbeumo, who's up against the Doji. Drifts in field, whips in across, looking for Wieser. Damsgaard in midfield, beaten to it by Richarlison. He's hemmed in though by Norgard. Wieser's stolen it. Wieser's got a run from Rico Henry left hand side. Little attempted cut back, and Spurs are going to be able to run it clear. Great skills from Yves Bissouma, who takes it away from Norgard, and then Wieser, and drives towards the halfway line. Now it's Oliver Skipp. Kulusevski on the right hand side. Brentford trying to make recovery runs. Kulusevski trying to capitalise. Steps in onto his left boot, edge of the penalty area, slides it square. Here's Hong, can't find Kulusevski, and it's Emerson Royale score the second goal. Kulusevski again, right hand side of the 6-yard box. That is going everywhere but in, as it bagatelles off a series of legs for a corner kick to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, and the game opens up after a Brentford attack, and that's the only time it really does open up for Spurs to get bodies down either side and counter-attack in numbers, because when they take their time in possession, Brentford do have literally everyone behind the ball. But that last attack has led it to open up ever so slightly. And Spurs showing there that they can counter-attack. They've got pace in the side to break down the sides to open you up as well.
59 minutes played, 2-2, corner kick Spurs. Here it comes again, Maddison delivers. Bit of air to this one. Underneath it is Collins, and Bremer will try and get there for the defending team. Unable to do so, and Kulusevski left-footed, took a deflection, wriggles through to Son! Blocked on the goal line by Flekken. Son again, left-hand side of the 18-yard box, towards the byline, drives in across, Collins with a header, and then that's Mickey van der Ven with a rising shot, which goes high into the Brentford end away to our left-hand side.
Yep, decent opportunity, and I think Son did all he could there really. The ball comes across, it's deflected into his path, and there's a lot of bodies ideally you want to strike that across the goal. It's come on the outside of Flecken's right-hand post on an acute angle, and ideally you want to go for his left-hand post on the diagonal. He couldn't do that, Son. There were so many bodies in his way, so he side-footed it towards the right-hand post, the near-hand post, and Flekken was there on hand to save with his feet. But yeah, Spurs are on top at the moment, and Brentford just are on the back foot. They've got to find a way to have a decent spell of possession.
Skip manages to whip it towards the right where he finds Emerson Royale. Here's Kulusevski, tries to turn clear of Rico Henry for Brentford in their red and white striped shirts. Yves Bissouma is able to stride forward. Richarlison edge of that Brentford penalty area, bobbles up in the air, finds Bissouma back in towards the Brazilian striker. He rolls it out wide towards the Sao Paulo born goal scorer in that first half, Emerson Royale. Neat and tidy football for Spurs on the edge of the Brentford area. Damsgaard though very quickly in to block Maddison's attempted shot, and it squirrels out of play on the far touchline for a Spurs throw. 2 apiece, 60 minutes gone. Steve Brown.
Yeah, this is why they didn't lose too many games here at the G-Tech last season, because when they are under pressure, when they have spells of being dominated, they are still very, very difficult to break down. And even when they give up chances, it's chances on the angle like that. You don't get too many gilt edge ones. But at the moment, Spurs just completely dominant possession wise.
Brentford just sitting in, goes back towards Sanchez on the halfway line. Here's Mickey van der Ven, goes back to his goalkeeper, and we'll go to Stamford Bridge. Team news, Chelsea-Liverpool, Savvy Bird.
Yeah, it's a 3-5-2 for Chelsea. Sanchez in goal, back three of Disasi, who makes his debut, Colwell and Thiago Silva, James Gallagher, Fernandes, Chukwuemeka and Chilwell are the five. They're just behind Raheem Sterling and new boy Nicholas Jackson. For Liverpool, Alisson's in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson at the back four. McAllister and Szoboszlai make their debuts in midfield, and there's a front four of Gakpo, Diaz, Jota and Mohamed Salah.
Aaron Hickey gets into a tangle with Son Heung-min. South Korean goes down, referee awards the free kick, and a yellow card for the Brentford defender, who slowly gets himself to his feet, jogs away. Does the Glasgow-born former Celtic player, who will know Ange Postecoglou pretty well. There's the free kick for James Maddison in a similar position to where Spurs got their first goal. Maddison's going to whip it in, right-footed. This time, Davinson Sanchez gone forward. Mickey van der Ven, likewise. It's delivered towards the far post.
Do you know
this
what?
time too close to the goalkeeper.
I actually thought the way Flecken had taken up his position, I thought Maddison might just whip it across for a shot. He was certainly on.
That's Flecken straight out to him. Brummer in off the right-hand side. He's brought to ground. So said the Brentford fans. James Maddison said nothing to do with me. Referee waved it away. Basuma in midfield, bounces off the sort of outstretched leg of Damsgaard, and here comes Spurs.
Not too many complaints on the pitch, was there? So in that respect, I don't think there was any contact made. So the argument becomes, did you affect his run? Referee deemed that not.
Maddison has it, pokes it behind him, finds Van der Ven on the edge of the centre circle. Basuma pirouettes through 360, prods it forward towards Maddison, slides it. Here's a chance now for Carlson to get his first Premier League goal of the season. Flecken with a punch save away. It's hit straight at the Dutch keeper, and on the halfway line it'll be Spurs recycling possession with Basuma again, but it's Spurs who are getting closer and closer, Steve.
Absolutely they are. And Richarlison's growing into this game. He's having more and more touches. He's getting off the shoulders of the Brentford defenders, fed by Maddison again, who I think is pivotal in this Spurs team. I think he's going to be a real asset as the season goes on. But again, where the chances are coming from, Phil, on the angle, much easier for the keeper to save.
Maddison tries to deliver, ricochets up in the air. Brentford can't make contact with the second ball. Christian Norgard slides in, no foul on Son. Basuma stands up strong though to take it away from Damsgaard. Here is Son just outside the Brentford penalty area, support to his left, finds the Doji, closed down by Aaron Hickey, pokes it into Basuma on the point of that Brentford 18-yard box. And here's Emerson Royale, who's dispossessed by Wissa, brought down by Emerson Royale as Zoran Wissa. Free kick is being given. Brentford fans say surely that should be a yellow card.
Potentially, yeah. Bit of complacency from Emerson Royale because they've had pretty much by and large the game their own way in the second 45. I quite like that change of pace from Wissa and going out and pressurising Royale quickly like that. It caught him out. He got caught underneath it. Free kick Brentford. I'm not sure it's a booking, but I can understand.
Bookings though all the time.
I don't think listen, I was at a game yesterday and it was,
that's brilliant from Rico Henry. Sorry Steve, down the left hand side, plucks it out of the air up against Emerson Royale, stands him up, rolls it behind him, finds Christopher Ayer. Here is Vitaly Janelt. They've gone back to Norgard. Ayer to Rico Henry again down the left hand side. He's going to deliver across, squirts off the back of Emerson Royale who made the block. Christian Norgard with possession for Brentford. Sorry, Steve.
No, I was saying that was a wonderful first touch and actually put him in a position where I would have cut off anyway because it was looking quite dangerous. But it's no surprise that Rico Henry is that out ball. And it's there again, look, and it's another wonderful first touch.
Brilliantly plucked out of the air. Rico Henry needs an option, slides it into Vitaly Janelt down the left-hand side of the Spurs penalty area. They've soaked up a lot of pressure of Brentford in the last 10 minutes. Norgard delivers, and he easily plucked out the air by Vicario, who bowls it out wide to this near touchline. And Richarlison, Pinnock though, is able to wrap the boot around the ball and cushion it out of play for a Spurs throw just inside the Brentford half. Steve Brown.
Yeah, I think as the season goes on as well, if he gets confident, Richarlison, he is a handful. He's had a bad year.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm telling you, if you get him on side, if the formation suits him and he starts to get a bit of joy and a few goals, and you get your man management skills right, I think he's going to be an absolute handful.
Almost halfway through this second half on BBC Radio London.
Getting there's the issue with Richarlison.
Oh, right, I was going to say to the end of the game if you've got added time.
No, getting there with Richarlison's the issue. But there's a talent there without any shadow of a doubt, but you've got to draw it out of him. He's got to be happy and enjoying himself.
Son pokes it towards Maddison, left-hand side of the Spurs attack, hugging the touchline. Maddison at the moment goes back to Van der Ven.
Just like to see, it happened moments ago, but I'd like to see Son where Udogie is and Udogie where Son is. And I think Son picking the ball up on the inside channel rather than being left out wide all the time. I think if he receives the ball in those spots Udogie's taken up, which is inverted, good 20 yards in from the sideline in an advanced position, I'd like to see them just swap every now and again and give Son the opportunity to pick the ball up 20 yards out, far more central than he is at the moment.
Maddison into Richarlison, edge of the Brentford penalty area, had his back to goal, so he manages to splash it across to Kulusevski, who prods it into the penalty area. Collins with the block, this time it's Janelt who volleys it away, only as far as Davinson Sanchez. There's no one up front to try and even compete for the ball for Brentford, so it's coming back with Spurs. Here's Kulusevski, Emerson Royale, 67.5 minutes played, halfway through the second half on BBC Radio London on a Sunday afternoon. Next football live on Tuesday night from the Football League. Udogie's darted into the penalty area, just keeps it from going out of play, whips in across. Rico Henry nudges the header away from Oliver Skipp, but the young left back for Tottenham Hotspur doing really well, actually, not to run it out of play. And then Bissouma manages to wriggle away from a couple of challenges, runs it straight though into Christopher Ayer. Here is Damsgaard, Wissa and Mbeumo, and Damsgaard managed to make a bit of a mess of that, and so Davinson Sanchez can mop up inside his own half and roll it to his own goalkeeper.
Yeah, and that is one major risk for Spurs, that in trying to find this winner. I mean, they're 84% possession in this second half, and it's felt like that as well. They've kept the ball away from Brentford really, really well, but the one thing that you do think is that they are leaving themselves a little bit exposed for the counter-attack if Brentford can make 2 or 3 passes on the transition, because they are starting to risk plays. That Bissouma run there leaves them a little short in midfield. The inverted fullbacks leaves them short in, protecting the centre halves. So they are at risk trying to search out this third goal.
Well, they're going to make a couple of changes. Brentford are preparing an alteration as well. Mads Roerslev, Kevin Schade, both stripped, I think, at the moment. I saw Ben Davies putting his top on for Tottenham Hotspur. So we've reached that stage where we're going to get some alterations. 20 minutes of normal time to go, Steve. So half an hour yet of this match. Well, maybe not. As Son prods it forward, gets it back this time from Udogie. Son still with it. Hickey, though, has managed to wrestle it off his boots and slides it up the touchline to Mbeumo. Needs a bit of support, runs straight into Mickey van der Ven.
He's got absolutely nowhere to go. Receiving the ball, a yard from the sideline on his left-hand side, which is the side of the pitch he's on. There is nowhere from Mbeumo to go.
Thomas Frank giving some instructions to his changes, and I think, it's definitely 3 he's going to make. Shannon Baptiste as well.
I do feel like they have run out of legs a little bit this second half. They have. Physically, they have, their work rate has dropped.
Pumped up in the air. Wissa somehow has manufactured something, and he manages to flick it out wide to Rico Henry as Johan Wissa. Trying to move the ball forward down the left-hand side. He's being tracked back by Kulusevski. He has to prod it towards Janelt on the halfway line. Pape Matar is coming on, as well as Ben Davies for Tottenham Hotspur, as Ethan Pinnock turns away from the attentions of Maddison. Damsgaard. Oh, that's a threaded ball forward, and Mbeumo manages to burst inside of the Tottenham Hotspur defensive line into the penalty area. It's being manhandled somewhat by Udogie, and then the pair of them spill into each other, and it's a free kick that's been awarded Tottenham's way by the assistant referee on this near touchline, and Robert Jones, the man in the middle.
Yeah, it sorted itself out, hasn't it? But I thought Mbeumo made a great run. Was well found by Damsgaard, I think you said, didn't you? I missed the pass, but he should have turned out Mbeumo and passed to Hickey, who'd taken up a brilliant supporting position up from right wing back, and he hadn't spotted it and therefore took a touch, then another touch, which drew the attention, and actually it just needed one touch, head up, back to Hickey, who now makes way.
Mads Roerslev coming on for Aaron Hickey. We're also going to see Johan Wissa being replaced by Kevin Schade, and Christian Norgard to be replaced by Shandon Baptiste. Norgard, who didn't really feature much in pre-season. Didn't go on the pre-season tour. Welcomed a new baby to the family, to Christian Norgard as well. An Achilles problem at the end of last season. And Kevin Schade will go up front alongside Brian Mbeumo, having made his move to Brentford a permanent one in the summer for £21 million, shaking hands with Johan Wissa. So changes made by Thomas Frank, sort of like for like. Formation won't necessarily, will it change? I'm not sure. We'll wait and see, but Roerslev can come in as a straight right back or a right wing back, Steve. Baptiste going into midfield and Schade going up front alongside Mbeumo. Vicario with the free kick, and that's going to go straight out of play for a Brentford throw. James Maddison talks to the goalkeeper as to what he was trying to do there. He wasn't quite sure, as Nathan Collins splashes it all the way back to Ethan Pinnock. And Brentford have possession deep inside their own territory with their goalkeeper Mark Flecken. So two debutant goalkeepers, Steve. Both of them have conceded 2 goals as Baptiste plays it to Pinnock. It's worked out wide towards Collins, up the right-hand touchline to Damsgaard. He'll roll it back to the Irishman and then threads it in towards Baptiste, who's popped up in that sort of vacant free position. It's allowed to back through to Kevin Schade. He's in on goal, is he? No, he's not quite. Vicario shepherded back to him by Emerson Royale. Just had enough there, the Spurs defenders, to prevent the newly arrived substitute from getting on the ball. Possibly he wasn't even expecting it. He thought Mbeumo was going to take it away from him.
Yeah, I mean, that's excellent play, isn't it? You know, that's what it looks like when you break the press, you know, and they did with a lovely ball from Collins, the centre-half, through the lines, which found Baptiste, and I think he was aiming for Rico Henry. I actually think he mishit that, and it found its way through to Schade, who actually with one good first touch would have been away, but he missed the ball, and that's why it run through to Vicario. But that was excellent play from Brentford.
That was Collins looking for Rico Henry on the left-hand side. Didn't quite have the power on it that was required. Oliver Skipp manages to wriggle it back to Mickey van der Ven, who's find his goalkeeper, and then his ball out wide towards the right-hand side is too heavily hit beyond Davison Sanchez, so Brentford have a throw. And we've got 16 minutes plus added on time to go at the end of this second half. 2-2. Oliver Skipp is coming off to be replaced by Pape Matar. And Ben Davis is on the sidelines as well. I think it's Ben Davis. No, it's not actually. It's Ivan Perisic who's coming on. So they've changed their mind on the other substitution. The Welshman has had to sit down. The Croat is coming on, and he's going to replace the captain, Son Heung-min. Steve.
Yeah, and it's a different role for him without any shadow of a doubt. Like I said, I'd like to see him popping up in the inside channel instead of Udogie. You know, I'd like to see them mix that up. I don't think they mixed that up enough today. But like I said, this is a new manager with a new style. It will take time. But I'd have to say that you know, that's not the worst substitution in the world. Son's not been that productive today.
Rico Henry towards Collins, who cushions the header into the 6-yard box. Mickey van der Ven is there to volley it away for a Brentford throw on this near touchline. Nathan Collins wanted to take it quite quickly, looks for an option, finds Mikael Damsgaard, receives the ball, he's fouled by James Maddison, and Mikael Damsgaard looks, to me, Steve, looks older than his 23 years.
Yeah.
It's the hairline, isn't it, Steve?
I agree.
Yeah. He's 23, Mikael Damsgaard. He's lived, hasn't he?
He has had a tough one. Hey. Yeah. He's had a tough life, bless him, up to this point.
Anyway.
Probably can't process stress, that never helps.
It's a free kick to Brentford for a foul.
Coming from someone who looked, you know, was never pegged as somebody who looked young, you know, so I feel his pain.
You feel his He also, well, anyway, I'll say in a minute. It's a free kick for Brentford, just outside the Spurs penalty area, and Mbeumo and Damsgaard behind it. Brian Mbeumo will take it left-footed, headed away by the first man, which is never a good thing if you're the free kick taker. Bissouma was the man who got it clear. Here now is Rico Henry. Dinks it towards Schade on the left-hand side. He chests it down under control, spins away from Richarlison, gets clear of him, goes to ground, no foul, and now Spurs can try and break in midfield. It's Bissouma, runs into a bit of traffic, Janelt's nicked it, and it's away towards the halfway line. Damsgaard there though to field for Brentford. The other thing about Mikael Damsgaard apparently is that he never quite looks in focus. It's really quite disconcerting. I mean, maybe that's just my eyes, Steve.
Yeah, I mean,
but no, honestly, I don't know what it is. Anyway, Bissouma finds Pape Matar through the centre circle to Udogie on the left-hand side. He finds the experienced Ivan Perisic, who just cushions it back in field. Huge beach volleyball player as well, Ivan Perisic. Steve, is that one of your arts? No. Don't get the speedos on a family holiday. No. Why'd you have to wear skimpy?
I couldn't, so well, couldn't and wouldn't.
Here are Tottenham in possession on the halfway line, on the half turn. Udogie filters it out wide towards the aforementioned Ivan Perisic, who takes on Mads Röslev and pushes it infield. He runs into a bit of traffic. Röslev receives from Mbeumo. Damsgaard on the right hand side. Röslev's going on the run beyond him, needs to roll it into his path. He's taking on Perisic. Röslev tries to deliver first time. It loops up in the air off Mickey van der Ven, and then there's a challenge between him and Schade. The referee says that's no penalty. It was a risky moment for I think everyone concerned, and then Nathan Collins has gone running in to Udogie. The referee stopped play.
Well, he's got another couple of minutes before VAR need to intervene, the way things have gone today, so we'll give that another 60 seconds or so before they chirp up. But yeah, I thought that was no penalty. I thought that was fine, and I can understand why the home fans at least gave it a bit of a roar.
I think maybe the Spurs player, if anything, got to the ball first anyway.
Yeah, that's what I felt with, in real time, that the challenge was made fairly and the contact came after. So but the game's got to that point where you have these multiple changes and the game loses shape a little bit, it loses fluidity. Perisic comes on. I don't really know what he's thinking in that last. Had possession, he had 3 Brentford players around him, he tried to take 2 of them on, lost it, and Brentford counter down the side. And actually the thing was to just take a touch, look up, feed Bissouma, feed a midfielder or Maddison, and keep the ball moving. And wasn't a good start from the substitute in terms of what he's brought to the pitch.
Maddison slips it towards Perisic down the left-hand touchline again. He's got away from Mads Röslev. His cross is straight at Mark Flecken.
Yeah, and that's what it's more about. Take one on, deliver, or at least play inside to somebody who's in a better position than you. But that was better. But the cross was into the middle of the 6, and unfortunately he had one at near, one at the far, so it was an easy take for Flecken.
Down the touchline, and Mbeumo comes to gather the ball. He runs into Perisic. The ball bounces off the experienced Croat, and now to play for a throw-in on the right-hand side to Brentford. We've got 10.5 minutes plus added on time to go. Seagulls cry in the air there, Steve. Watching on, getting a bird's eye view. Here's Nathan Collins, hauled down by Maddison. Few ironic suggestions that the former Leicester man should get booked for his second booking. I think that's just fan banter, I will describe that as. That's good strength from Emerson Royal to hold off Rico Henry. Just sort of held him at arm's length, really. It's like a cat on it, playing with a mouse, really. Just, I'm not dealing with you, go away, I'm going to win the ball. Here's Bissouma slipping it towards Emerson Royal on the halfway line. 2-2 BBC Radio London on a Sunday afternoon, live at the GTEC Community Stadium in West London. Brentford against Spurs. And it finished 2-2 between these two on Boxing Day last season. And Brentford then winning late on in the season, not late on in the game, but late on in the season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. On the right hand side, it's Kulusevski who rolls it in field to Emerson Royal. Maddison again just trying to tick things over, trying to keep things moving. Finds Perisic via Bissouma in midfield. Perisic with a little clipper, which is off the backside of Damsgaard, and Damsgaard's got Röslev again. He is pinned back down the right hand touchline, needs a bit of an option, and Röslev shows far too much of that to Van der Ven, and it will be a throw into Brentford. It's asking a lot, really, Röslev, of any of his teammates, but it was a percentage ball and he takes the throw in that was won.
I just keeping an eye on Postecoglou there and seeing if he was going to have an interaction with Perisic, because that's twice he's given it away in 3 attempts down his left-hand side for Spurs, and twice Brentford have countered down their right, and I just can't give the ball away in those situations.
And Brumo, Roerslev teases it into the 6-yard box. It's gathered by Vicario. Idea wasn't necessarily the worst one. It's good movement between Mads Roerslev and Brian Mbeumo, who then goes to cover in behind the right wing back in order to make sure that Perisic didn't have a free roll down the left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good move, but you've got Sade in the box by himself. You've got to feed it in behind a centre-half and at a pace where the keeper can't come and make a claim, and the ball had it was a bit too soft, and that allowed the Tottenham keeper Vicario to come and make the claim. But they're having moments, Brentford, which they weren't having. They are slowly creeping into the game and having little counter-attacks.
Both managers on the edge of their coaching boxes. Stepping infield again comes Kulusevski. Pokes it behind himself and he finds Bissouma. Here's Udogie looking for Perisic on the left-hand side. Roerslev closes him down. The left-back goes beyond him. It's going to just be rafted back to Perisic. Delivers right-footed up in the air. That's a little flicked header straight off Matassar into Mark Flecken's hands. Ripple of applause. And then a long delivery from Flecken to Schade to chase. He nudges it up into the air himself. He's battling with Davinson Sanchez. Initially did really well actually to try and win the ball, and then almost gave up on the physical battle. It's really strange, Steve.
The ball came down on his inside, and Sanchez had the upper hand physically at that point, and he did give up. Yeah, I mean that last ball in, you can't get pinned at the back post. You've got to be coming onto it if you're Matassar, and he got pinned. He's certainly got the height advantage coming on that back post, but you want to see him on the move, meeting it rather than getting caught underneath it.
Kulusevski delivers, 6-yard box, beyond everyone at a play. Nathan Collins was just tracking across with Perisic from Kulusevski's cross, and we're going to see another change, and it'll be Mathias Jorgensen coming on to replace Christopher Ayer, and the Norwegian coming off. He's again player that had his season last season interrupted by injuries in his second season with the club, and he's being replaced by the former Huddersfield Town man Mathias Jorgensen late on in this game. So a little shake of hands between him and Vitaly Janelt, and again they're going to go long and they're going to shove Nathan Collins forward for this long clearance from Mark Flecken to try and win it from an aerial point of view. He's the target, rises up in the air, it goes from Van den Ven. Now it's a little flick from Janelt, and Brumo's there to bring it under control, tries to turn down the right hand side. He's being this time dragged down by Destiny Udogie, and it will be a free kick to Brentford. Brian Mbeumo holds his hands out, the Cameroon international at the World Cup, and James Maddison comes to have another little chat. It's one of the co-vice captains or whatever it is. It's got the captain's armband because the other one is Christian Romero and he's off, so there wasn't a lot of choice. Son is the captain, Steve, a couple of vice captains. What's below vice captain? What happens if the vice captains are both off, Steve? Is there a sub vice captain normally?
You never think that far ahead, Phil. Okay. I don't think we even had a vice captain. It was captain whoever he decided to give the band to if he went off. That was it.
Cool. Excellent. And Bruno Damsgaard behind this free kick. It's about 25 yards up from the byline. It'll be Damsgaard this time. He's going to tease it in straight at the first man.
It's happened too many times, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's 3 times now in this second half. They've hit the front man. Criminal.
Receives. That's a little nutmeg that Vitaly Janelt couldn't quite capitalise on as it was played through Perisic's outstretched legs. Emerson Royale did really well though to nudge it away from Vitaly Janelt, and it will be a throw-in that Mathias Jorgensen will take.
And the reason you say it's criminal is because attacks have been few and far between for Brentford in the second 5. So and set pieces I think is a big chance for them, and you're not even giving yourself an opportunity to get an end product.
4.5 minutes to go plus added on time. It's coming up to 4 o'clock. Here's the long throw from Jorgensen. Schade with the header, drops down towards Mads Roerslev, strikes it, drifts up in the air, header towards Jorgensen again, this time from Janelt. He delivers it towards the far post, almost drops in, back it comes from Mbeumo, claims of handball against Emerson Royale. Players march away, play continues, and this will be worked in field to Vitaly Janelt. who drives it to Mathias Jorgensen. Schada's making the run beyond him, in towards Schada. Out comes the goalkeeper, clashes into Schada. Ball goes up into the air. Referee says goal kick.
Yeah, and he's saying goal kick because he's obviously run into Vicario after he's made contact and got the shot away. You know, you can't physically stop yourself. He has to spread himself to make the save, Vicario, in case the shot comes in low. And the fact that Schada's, lifted it over and out for a goal kick, you can't expect the keeper to not, with momentum, try and make a save.